Hello, 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 hello. Welcome, 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 welcome. My rug's in the way. Hang on. Ooh. My rug's getting caught under my chair. Welcome, everybody. Hello, hello, hello. It is the Sunday. Yes. Welcome, welcome. It is Sunday, bank holiday weekend here in the UK. And welcome back. It's been a couple of weeks. We had a bit of a week off last week. But yes, welcome back to Warhammer Sunday. My 3-hour stint on a Sunday when I crack on with some Warhammer build or other, perhaps. My screen's all in the wrong place, really. Guthelm's right there, but all this space. I'm at a funny angle today. I like to try different angles every now and then. Welcome, everyone. I am working on my Warhammer Conquest army, getting them all built up so that later in the year I can start the proper painting of them and filming that. So for the last few months, I've been getting them built on Warhammer Sunday, and that's what we're doing today. So more Warhammer dudes. We've got the pack of 8 Ultramarines reinforcements that we're building. We've done 2 so far, so I'm going to crack on with the rest of them. But as always, before we get going, quick shout-outs. First of all, to all my lovely, people that make this stream possible. All my lovely patrons over at patreon.com/modelmakingguru. They keep the lights on, they keep the bills paid, they keep me doing this. This is my job, this is what I do for a living. So massive thank you to all my patrons. And of course, big shout outs to my 2 sponsors and affiliates. First of all, my sponsors, emodels.co.uk, your one-stop shop for all your model making needs. Link in the description below the video. They are open, they are taking orders. So if you need model making stuff in this time of the chocolate Velociraptor 19 pandemonium, then yes, you can still get stuff from them. Place your orders, do that. However, do be aware they've got a backlog of 5,000 orders, so they're taking the time to get through them as quickly as they can. So don't expect next day delivery, but do place your orders. And of course, my very good friends over at Goblin Gaming, who are actually closed for the duration, but they are still allowing orders to be put through. You'll have to wait till they reopen again once all the lockdown's finished. But they are taking orders. Again, link in the description below the video. If you order from Goblin Gaming, I get a little bit of income from that, so you help this channel at the same time. But welcome, welcome, welcome. As always, the whole point of this stream really is it doesn't really matter what I work on here. What I do in this space in front of all the eye holes in your face is not really relevant. I'm really here just to give you guys a place to hang out in the chat. At the moment, anyway, for the time being, that's what all these streams that us and myself and all my friends are doing. They're more just a place for you guys to hang out in chat. So if you are watching this, you can see there's a chat here. But if you are watching this and you can't see where to do the typey, I do recommend you come and join in the chat. There are currently 36 of you watching. I suspect there's not 36 of you in the chat. So do come and join the chat. If you're watching on a mobile device, the chat may be underneath the video, so just scroll down a little bit. If you're watching on a different device or embedded somewhere like Patreon or Facebook, click on the YouTube icon that's down here underneath the video player somewhere. Down there, click on the YouTube icon. It'll take you to the YouTube page where you can join in at the live chat. If you are on a mobile device, you may need to request the desktop version of the site that you're on. If you're in Chrome or something like that, it's in the menu. Go to desktop version. It might not show it. If you're in the YouTube app, for example. I, of course, have my enormous cup of coffee. Oh, I've got to tell you. Oh, we ordered some milk. And, of course, obviously we're limited to what we can get when we ordered the milk. So the only thing we could get is skimmed milk. Oh, dear God. Cartons and cartons of skimmed milk that just makes coffee taste like absolute ball sacks. It's horrible. I normally use semi-skim milk in my coffee and it tastes just right. But somehow it's made my Dow Egbert's very nice gold coffee taste like the kind of crap you get in a sachet at a cheap hotel. It's horrible. The quicker we get through all this skim milk and get to the proper stuff. Oh, foul. But the reason we're using the skim milk first is because it looks like it might, not last as long as the other stuff, which we'll probably store on a shelf for years. So we're trying to get rid of the skim first. Oh, it's bad. It's bad. Don't drink skim milk. Let's have a quick look at the people in chat before we crack on. I'm going to have a quick whiz. I'm not going to sit and read every single comment like I normally do. Guthelm says hi, by the way. Let's have a look. The first comment I actually had was from Pascal, but I can't see that on the chat anymore. But the first comment I can see now is David Sanderson. Make sure I'm on live chat, yes. David Sanderson, we have Quano Man, and Dad, of course, is one of your moderators. Dad is lovely and will look after you. And we also have, I think, Chris from Gross Models and Paul at Team Inept. Also 2 of your mods. They will look after you, they'll keep you safe, they'll keep you protected from all the evils that the internet can throw at you. But if you cross them, they'll rip off your head and poop down your throat. Trust me on that one. They'll kick ass and chew bubble gum. Time to kick ass and chew bubble gum. So Dad is in one of your mods. Do look after him and he'll look after you. David Sanderson, Raging Bassist. Welcome, Bassist. Model Making Trucker, who is actually Lewis. I later on he actually said it's me, Lewis, but I actually figured that out. I figured it out because I've got an enormous brain that's very clever. I'm not clever, but my brain's clever. So model making truckers in. Welcome, Lewis. We have Cynical Steve. Managed to stab myself with my tiny screwdriver when messaging with... Hang on, let me start that again. Managed to stab myself with a tiny screwdriver when messing with the Meccano portion of the D'Agostini Falcon. Bloody tiny screw went flying and the driver went right into my thumb. You need a week off now then. Let's have a look. We have... look, there are plenty of extra screws, says Cynical Steve. Yeah, Diag and Hachette, they do send you lots of extra screws, which is good. We have... more people came in, but I'm trying to find where that is. There's a lot of chat before I joined. Still doing basis, Cynical Steve and Dad. Chris at Gross Models comes in. Afternoon all, happy Easter. If you follow that sort of thing. Who else do we have? Andy McLeish is in. Welcome, Andy. We have... There's lots of conversation with us. I've just got the same 2 or 3 names going backwards and forwards. It's like I'm trying to find new people. Team Inept, which is our good friend Paul, is in. Chris keeps reading model making trucker as model making tractor. That sounds just as good to me. Model making tractor, that's right then, isn't it? Mordraka is in, apparently. Yes, where we go. Morning, Andy, Dad, Steve, Quano, David, Lynn, Raging Trucker, Chris, and Team Inept. So obviously I'm going to say hello myself too. Pika. Hello, a thing happened. In case you and Mama Fox are running low on biscuits. I'll get to that in a minute, but thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'll see what that is when I get down to the bottom of the chat. Who that was from. I only got a quick blip on my screen. I didn't quite see it. So Mordraka is in. Also hello to David, Lynn, Raging, and the others that he mentions. He mentions. Mordraka. He or she? I don't know. Never really thought about it. A lot of you, I don't know. A lot of you I know, whether you're a boy or a girl. There's some of you out there that I don't know. And it doesn't really matter. It's not really relevant. But it's like, you never know sometimes. We have... who else has come in? You can see. A lot of conversation gone on. We have tons of it. Redlen08, good afternoon all. Welcome, Redlen. Welcome. Rascal's Hobby, it's snowing here. Where is here and how is it snowing? We've got warm and sunshine here. It's nice and warm. Let's have Athel McNichol is in. Afternoon, David, says Athel to David Sanderson. Oh, North Dakota, says Rascals. There we go, North Dakota. Wow. Is that further north than here in England, or is that further south? I'd never quite know on the equator level, because we're quite far north, but we get the Gulf Stream warmness to warm us up, whereas in reality we'd be kind of quite a cold country. But I think we get away with it because of the Gulf Stream. I can't remember Dakota's kind of level with us, or a bit further north. That's North Dakota, obviously not South Dakota. David Sanderson says Bismarck, and Rascal says correct, David. Oh, Model Making Trucker says, my little boy wants to help me build my Belfast. Lol, no. Yeah, he's making this model of the Belfast, and he's making little tiny photo etch things about this big, like little guns that are like the size of a rice. It's insane. Earl D is in. Welcome, Earl D. We have Jamie Bones in. Welcome, Jamie. Roast beef or roast chicken? You decide. People talking about North Dakota and the Badlands. Rascal says in North Dakota it stays winter for like 6 months. Jamie Bone asks Dad if his dad is having his Man City Easter egg, and then the whole conversation devolves into football. Football's illegal. I don't do sports. Let's have a look. Powerwolf 1097. You're not doing Easter right if you're not covered in chocolate and feel a deep sense of shame. We haven't had any eggs. We're not religious family, we don't care about that nonsense, but haven't had any chocolate eggs, but I think we've got some turning up. But we do have enormous bowls of like miniature heroes, so we've been eating all of those, or celebrations or something, little chocolates. I had some of them earlier and I felt a bit fat. Where are we? Who else have we got coming in? Power Burke and Squeezemo. Of course, Power Burke and Squeezemo. Of course we is, because I am the Power Burke, which is Andy, obviously. Andy McLeish is Power Burke and Squeezemo. I like that, Power Burke and Squeezemo. What's the chat saying? Lots of conversation going back and forward. Eric Graham says, morning, evening, afternoon or night, whatever time of day it is for everyone. Welcome, Eric. Welcome. There's a lot of conversation going on. Wayne Haywood is in. Welcome, Wayne. Nim is in. Hey, Wayne. Hey, Nim. How you doing? So Nim and Wayne, welcome to both of you. Dave at Book to That Model comes in, signed in as the right channel, so Paul doesn't need to ban him. Dave sometimes comes in as the wrong channel, and then Paul just kicks him out until he comes back as the right channel. So well done, Dave. Dave's another one of your mods. Dave from Book to That Model. Ashley Swan says, hello, first Sunday off in months, so actually able to watch live. Welcome, Ashley. Welcome. Glad you could make it. Let's have a look. Catching up on chat. Gross Models, he only knows I'm a boy because he did the Crocodile Dundee test when we met. I didn't know such thing. Interzone 88 is in. Welcome, Interzone. That's how I quickly handbrake turned away from that. Model making truck, and now I'm at home with the really tall lady whose nostrils you keep looking up. I don't know what. I'm not sure what the chat is doing now. I've lost the tracks. I'm not going to try and catch up. Quanoman says, welcome, Quanoman says, I'm not sure if I'm a boy or a girl either. I think I'm a turnip though. Paul says, the continental USA is lower latitude than us. London is level with Calgary. Oh, wow, really? Okay, so how come they've got snow? Yeah, it's the Gulf Stream, isn't it? I was going to say, how come they've got snow and we haven't? It's the Gulf Stream. Temperate climate. Powerberg and Squeezemo says, Sponge Farm. Yes. Now, one thing I have learned over the last week, by the way, I'm not going to be doing any close-up nonsense to the microphone like I usually go in and say moist and stuff, because I've realised it messes up my audio. You know, sometimes you'll come in and I'll start the show and I'll be really quiet. It's because I've done some close-up thing with the microphone. And Windows, for some reason, Windows has this thing where it takes control of your microphone, and if something loud comes through, it says, oh, I'm going to turn the microphone input down, and then leaves it. So if I make a loud noise near the microphone, it goes, oh, let's drop the input down to 70%, and then doesn't tell you, and then it never changes it, and then you have to fart about for it. This is why I'm always adjusting the audio, so I've learnt that now. So, yeah, and it wouldn't mind it's hidden away in a sub-menu of a sub-menu. So I'm not going to do close-up stuff to the microphone, so I'll do it close to the camera. Moist. Doesn't really work when I'm doing it close to the camera. Where are we? I've got the sniffles already because we've been going for more than 5 minutes. Cynical Steve said, I had a Ferrero Rocher egg. It was proper lush. I can imagine it was. Oh. And Dave says, and Moscow the other direction, Paul. Thank God for the Gulf Stream, I say. Oh, God, yes. Candygram is in. Welcome, Candygram. Candygram thanks Chris over at Gross Models for posting his Alex video yesterday. The immersion must be incredible. Yes, Chris was playing Half-Life Alex on the Team Inept channel yesterday. I think he might be doing some more tonight or something tonight. But that was good. D-Rock Payne. Welcome, D-Rock Payne. Rush to Walmart while everyone is Eastering and scoop up those Ferrero Rocher for 75 off. Woohoo! Just maintain your social distancing a metre apart. Name is going to dive into a jar of Starburst jelly beans. Ooh. Athel McNichol says, in case anyone's interested, I am male. I think the photograph with you with a beard probably gives that one away. Dad asks the most important question of all, of course, which is bench and belly. What's on your bench? What are you working on? It could be a model. You might have lost the mojo. It might be nothing at all. If you're not working on a model and you've lost your mojo, what are you doing instead? We'll expand this question. What are you working on? If you're not working on a model, because I know a lot of you we've been speaking to over the last few weeks, because here's the thing. Normally, of a week, we get a little bit of time at, well, not for me, but for you guys, you get a little bit of time at weekend when you're not at work and the family's all been sold for the weekend, they've all gone off, and you get a little bit of time at your bench and you savour it and you do loads of work. But normally that's like a little few hours a week. Now a lot of you have got like every day at the bench, and it's like, oh, burnout. So I know a lot of you out there have said that your mojo's just gone, you've just got the brewer's droop, and you're like, I don't want to do it. Like, careful what you wish for. But if it's happened to you, what are you doing instead? A lot of you are doing some other stuff. I personally, when my mojo falls over, I go and play video games, because it's. So if you're not working on something, if there's nothing on your bench, what are you doing instead? Some of you will no doubt say DIY because I've been told to. There you go. But that counts. But yes, what are you doing instead if you're not doing the building? And Belly, what have you had for your dinner, or what are you going to have for your dinner tonight? Quickly go through the answers I've got, then we'll crack on with some work. It wouldn't be one of my streams if I didn't talk for half an hour first. D-Rock Payne says, Lanard Aliens Toys X4, 2 repainted, 2 to go, 0 food. 0 food is not good. Aliens Toys, 4 repainted. I've got plans later this year, maybe, if I can get one. There's some toys that I'd love to paint, and one of them unfortunately, they're just so expensive to get them because they're so rare. One of them would be one like the police hover car thing from Space Precinct. You can get them; they do come up every now and then. The Jerry Anderson space. It wasn't a very good. Was it? No, was it Space Pre? Yeah, it was Space Pre. It was a terrible, terrible Jerry Anderson series. It wasn't terrible. It wasn't brilliant. But they had a floaty space police car, and you can get toys from them. I plan on one day getting one of those, but they're so rare. They're stupid money for a crappy plastic toy. But yeah, there's something to be said for repainting toys. I also seem to, for some reason I can't quite place, have a couple of Jar Jar Binks toys that I need to repaint. There's the shaky fist. James Lorimore is in. I'm a bit late, sorry. Eating jelly beans. That's 2 of you eating jelly beans now. Model Making Trucker says, belly, roast pork and all the trimmings, bench the 1350 HMS Belfast with some really big photo etch. I wish. Yeah, he's literally making, like, you see this little tiny spot in the middle of my screen? He's making, like, deck guns that big, like half the size of a rice. And he's like, look at this, I've made it. And it's like a molecule. And we're all sat there in the chat like, Jesus. We're all quite impressed by it, by the way. Just so you know, we're all like, holy cow. D-Rock Payne says, I asked my brother how our generation could be more distant. It's rather pleasant now. Hang on, that jumped. Cynical Steve, the missus has a Cadbury's fruit and nut egg, but as I inhaled all mine, I can't have any. Yeah, they do tend to disappear quite quickly. Team Inept says, bench, nothing. Now, still now, Mojo, where are you? Belly, don't know, something simple because I can't be bothered cooking. By the way, you feel free to do swearing in chat, I don't care, but I won't be reading out the swear words. I try not to swear myself because it's obviously a monetized stream and I don't want to jeopardize that. Athol McNichol says, what is on my workbench? Is it night? And what may be in my belly later is fried rice with yokum sauce. Ooh. When you say a knight, are we talking a knight in shining armour? Are we talking Imperial Knight, like Warhammer stuff? Cool. Or something else altogether. Butcher That Model says, belly, roast beef and roast lamb with all the trimmings. She who farts put vigour bubbles on the plate. Vigour bubbles? What's a vigour bubble? What? What's a vigour bubble? Put vigour bubbles on. Oh, vegetable. Oh, right. Okay, vegetables. I was like, what's a vigour? Well, I had to read that one carefully. Bench, Knack McFeagle Gnome Barbarian Conversion. Cool, that's from the Terry Pratchett We Free Men. Knack McFeagle, isn't he? The little blue dude. See, I know my Terry Pratchett, vaguely. David Sanderson says, social distancing won't be an issue in Wyoming. Lol. Paul says he does intend to rebuild the step to the lawn for the decking. He intended to, but scuppered by the fact the joists are rotted to hell. That's DIY. I have no understanding of such matters. I'm going to, just so you've got something to look at, Gutham's going to help me read. Redland says, bench, chaos cultist, belly, roast turkey with all the trimmings, imminent. We need flashing red lights and a warning sign. Imminent turkey. Wayne Haywood, bench, reorganising the desk to fit the new paint rack, belly, tuna mayo sarnies. I might have for my tea later on, we've got a load of eggs and we've still got loads of cans of tuna, so I might have some egg chopped up in a cup with tuna. 2 hard-boiled eggs, get a big cup, 2 or 3 hard-boiled eggs, big chunk of butter, lots of salt and pepper, whole tin of tuna, the small thin tin, tuna, put it in the cup, munch it up, get loads of bready soldiers or toasty soldiers, egg chopped up in a cup with tuna, with mayonnaise and salad cream, big dot of mayonnaise, big dot of salad cream, munch it all up, wrong word, munch it all up, chop it with a knife. Fantastic. You'll do lots of smelly trumps the next day, but it's a fantastic snack. Bassist, belly, nothing. I've been a bit down the past 2 days and haven't got an appetite. Oh, sorry to hear that, buddy. Hope this will cheer you up. Go and snack some wolf anything down. Eat some real crap food. Get like just eat a can of spaghetti hoops or something. Just open the can and eat. Sometimes the best comfort food is the worst. Nim says, bench, MG, Master Grade Barbados. Start again. Master Grade Barbados, although she puts Barbados. Barbados. 135th Tank Crew and 2 Dungeon and Dragons minis. Belly, Starburst, Jelly Beans, now lunch. I don't know. I moved a hot plate and skillet in my room, so I'll be cooking bacon and eggs and maybe some toast, says James Lorimore. All those things will make the room smell fantastic, and then you'll be hungry again. D-Rock Payne, I assume, has lost his mojo because he's saying he's playing the Final Fantasy VII Remake. Cool. Cynical Steve says, bench is the new improved dad device paint pot orc truck belly. Was the aforementioned Easter egg of Anomalous? Yes, he's got one of these things, little dad device, but he's got a double dad device, which is 2 of these, and he's put loads of greebles and tracks and things on it, so it's a truck now that he can put his glues in, so it's brilliant. I love it. Ghost Lyle, welcome Ghost Lyle, says large amounts of different meats in my belly, some 40k scenery on bench. Chronoman is working on the Perfect Grey Falcon engine, top belly Viscounts. No, I want the Viscount. Infested Neptune, welcome Infested Neptune, says I have loads on my Conquest stuff to do, but burnt out at the moment. Belly chocolate egg obs. Yes, ours haven't arrived yet. Mumma Fox did actually order some chocolate eggs, but they haven't turned up yet. Where are we? Powerwork and Squeeze Mo. Bench. Oh, Mustang. Oh, Mustang. Oh, what do you say? Oh. Bench, Mustang, and the F-16A. Mojo kind of lost this week. Playing Doom. Belly, mixed grill slices. Sliced sausages, links, black... I'll start again. Sliced sausages, links. Links. What are links if they're not sausages? Black pudding, haggis. Ooh, yes, I like all that. Now I want a mixed grill now. Although if it's a proper mixed grill, you're kind of missing fried tomatoes, beans, gammon, bacon, and a chop, maybe a pork chop, perhaps, sometimes a lamb chop, and a mushroom, giant mushroom. You're missing all those to be a proper mixed grill. But you have put haggis in there, so we'll let you off. Let's have a look. More Draka 09. Belly, 3 tons of chocolate eggs. Excellent. Is that metric or imperial? Pork sausages, eggs and chips. Wow. So you're mixing chocolate eggs, pork sausages, eggs and chips and coffee. Bench, Conquest 38, Plague Surgeon 41 and 42, the Plague Burst Crawler. Watch for the tracks that shows them the wrong way around in the magazine. Have a look. Ian Thompson, welcome Ian, says Bench Revel Voyager, Belly Beefsteak Pasty. Ooh, which Voyager is that? Is that the limited edition one or the not limited edition one? There was that particular kit. There were 2 that came out. They're both the same, but the limited edition one had slightly different shaped windows and had decals to go inside the windows. I built both of them. They're actually not bad for Revel Star Trek. It's actually not bad little kits. A little bit of seam line filling here and there, but they're actually pretty good. It's nice big. I've got one in the loft, sort of half built. Yeah, it's not a bad kit though. Voyager's always a difficult one to paint though, because it was never like if you painted one of the more traditional starship vessels, they have the Aztec paneling on them, but Voyager never really had that. If you look at the filming model, it never actually had Aztecing on it, so it's always kind of confusing as to how exactly you'd paint the Voyager, and it kind of was, I think, a light blue colour as well. It's not a grey. Weird. Have a look. Lamb something tonight, says Chris. Bench Skyrim. Cool. Thank you, Fox. Means a lot from you guys. Says about his little tiny things. David Sanders says Michael Knight. Hang on, it jumped. Athol says yes, it was a Games Workshop night, but it might turn out to be a Chaos night. Ooh, cool. When did Titan sets get retarded priced? They were like $40 25 years ago. What's a Titan set? Do you mean like Imperial Knights? Because that's 25 years ago. Of course, they were cheaper 30 years ago. Yeah, they're about 80 quid now. If it's Imperial Knights, yeah, they're about 85 to 95 quid. T-Minette, 2 eggs and a tin of tuna. Dear God, that's going to be some serious farts. Absolutely. I want eggy tuna now, says Wayne Haywood. Trust me. 2 hard-boiled eggs. Mayonnaise, salad cream in goodly amounts, tin of tuna, knife, chop, salt and pepper. Oh, you need bread with it though to make little tiny. You get a piece of bread, you just pull a strip off, and you make a tiny sandwich. Oh, it needs to be it needs to be that size, cut with like 4 eggs and 2 tins of tuna. Oh, you'll love it. You'll love it. I think the anthropomorphic dice man will help get my mojo back. Doing the eyes on the gold paladin kind of sucks a bit, says bassist. Yeah, he's doing those. Is it Reaper Bones? Not Reaper Bones, is it? They do the little the dice characters. He's been doing them. Need more tea, be right back, says bassist. Need to get some work done. Stop doing so much chat. No, don't stop. For the Americans among us, says Paul, I'm craving chilies, honey chipotle, crispers, and street corn. Suddenly, I wonder if I can make something similar. I've read all the words in that sentence. I don't know what any of that is. Chilies, honey, chipotle, crispers, and street corn. I know what the words mean by themselves, but other than that, it's just random nonsense. Right, see, jumped a little bit. I took the week to watch every Star Trek movie from the original motion picture to the last of the newest film, says James Lorimer. Oh, there's some garbage in there, but there's some really good stuff as well. I'm not going to... James, which was the best one? There's a question for you. There's a right answer, and then there's all the other wrong answers. Which was the best one? There is only one right answer, so just so you know. Ian Thompson says, I could do with some advice regarding priming and painting. Then this is the right place, because if I can't help you, everyone in chat can. Ask your questions, buddy. Just because I'm sitting here building Warhammer doesn't mean I'm not going to talk about other stuff. Right. Where are we? Right, I think I'm up to date. James Lorimore says, the Wrath of Khan is best, hands down. You've just won 10 XP, 10 internets. Sorry, you just won 10 internets, because that is the correct answer. The Wrath of Khan is the best of all the Star Trek films. And I will hear no one say anything to the contrary. Wrath of Khan. There are other good ones in there, but the Wrath of Khan is by far the best. And there's a reason why everybody kind of spoofs that soundtrack, because James Horner's soundtrack is his best ever soundtrack. It's disturbing to know that the man that wrote the soundtrack to The Wrath of Khan is the same man that wrote the god-awful soundtrack to that bloody Titanic film and wrote that damn song. That's a moment of sadness in his career we shouldn't talk about. But yes, James Horner, right, where's Guthorn? There he is. James Horner, awesome. It's one of my favourite of all-time soundtracks. It's an awesome film. And did you know that soundtrack, although he wrote it, he also reused big chunks of it in the Aliens movie that he did the soundtrack for. I think it was Aliens. Was it Aliens? I think it was. So there's a lot of the themes from the Wrath of Khan soundtrack in the Aliens movie. And did you know that soundtrack is so good that one episode of the Clone Wars, which was kind of almost like a submarine combat episode, but it was like between starships, the guy that wrote the soundtrack actually made the music. He almost pretty much copied a lot of the themes and riffs from the Wrath of Khan in that episode. And I read up about it, and he said, it's such a good soundtrack, I wanted to do a little tribute, so I used a lot of very similar riffs. And it's great, because the whole episode is like two ships battling, and it works perfectly. It works perfectly. Horner managed to recreate that naval sea battle theme with the twiddly strings and all the arpeggios. Oh, it's fantastic. Right, shut up, Fox. Let's do some work. So, yes. Where were we? Beyond Hope says, Fox is ignoring me. Did you ask something? I haven't seen a comment from you, dude. Remember, if you want to get my attention, I've got the chat here. If you want to get my attention, you can do a comment in big fat capital letters so I have a chance of seeing it, or you can do a super chat, which is the dollar symbol at the bottom of the chat window. It puts your comment in a coloured box, and it also helps out this channel. There was a super chat earlier on, but I didn't see it. From Cynical Steve. Was that a tip or was that a super chat, Steve? Because if it's a tip, we're not doing tips anymore, because that's for the stream boss battle. I don't get those, but it doesn't show up in chat. So did you do a tip or a super chat? Do let me know. I didn't see a super chat. There shouldn't be a link for the tip jar anymore, I don't think. Dave says, don't forget the tip jar. No, do forget the tip jar. And do forget the tip jar. Yes, we're not doing tips anymore. That was for the stream boss battle, but because right now, everywhere that you would get the prize for the stream boss battle from is closed, we're not doing the stream boss battle, so don't use the tip jar. Forget the tip jar. Pretend that doesn't exist. Because if somebody was to win the stream battle today, they can't go and order the prize. So I'd have to stop anyway. So until everybody returns to normal and Games Workshop opens again, then, yeah. So yeah, if you want to do a super chat, you can do. That's a way to help me out, but it also puts your comment in there. Cynical Steve says, I did a tip because I is a numpty. Well, it doesn't really matter, because it still goes into the pot of money. The pot's still there. So when the stream boss does come back, then you've still got that £10 is in there. So thank you for that. It's still there. It's not going anywhere. It's just it's not being used. So no. Where do you even get it from? It's not even on the screen anymore. Where do you get the address from? Yeah. For those that don't know what that was, if you knew, we had a stream boss battle where you guys would put money into a tip jar, and when it got to a certain amount, the stream boss, whoever the stream boss was, would lose health every time you put a tip in, and when it got to him to zero, that person would then win all the money in the tip jar, which was, last time it ran, about 488 quid. 31, 32, 30, 29, 30, 31, 32. 26 and 27 we want first of all. I need my helmet on. Yes, we're not doing this tip jar anymore. Where did you get the tip jar address from? Steve. It's not even on screen, is it? Please don't tell me it's on screen now. Good. At the moment, then. In fact, I know it's not on screen. Is there something missing? What's turned off? Oh no. I'll tell you what's not on screen.
Slap it on.
That wasn't on screen. That needs to be on screen. Right, so we need 26, 27 and 28. Let's get those parts first. Yeah, doing some work, doing some work, doing some work. It's the wrong sprue. Boom. 26, 27 and 28. Shouldn't be too hard. This could be quite hard. That's the wrong sprue. I only got 2 sprues and I got the wrong one. And then got the right one. 26, 27, there we go. 28. 28. There we are. There she is. There she is. Do. 26, 27. And also 28. Yes, beyond. What was I ignoring? What did you say? You need to put it in big fat capitals so I can see it in the chat. Otherwise it just gets mixed up in everybody else's comments. Do. You know that. You've been around long enough. Beyond hope. You haven't said what it was that I missed. I'm not ignoring you. What did you say that I missed? Let's have a look. My uncle does peanut butter and mayo. Blech! So do you, says D-Rock. No. I'm not the biggest fan of peanut butter. I hate peanut butter unless it's with jam or jelly, as you Americans would call it. Peanut butter and jelly I can do. Peanut butter on its own is vile. More Dracras. Has anybody seen the new Picard series? Yep, I've seen it. It's very good. Ian Thompson, right, just Joshua, but what's the better, black or grey primer? I currently don't have an airbrush set up and I'd like to do pre-shading. You can't do pre-shading. You can't do pre-shading without an airbrush, but you can do a dark shade first and build up the colour on top with rattle cans, but you're going to struggle. It's not going to be anywhere near as easy as with an airbrush, but you can do it. But yes, it depends what you want. Depends what colour you are putting over the top. If you're doing white and you put a black primer, good luck trying to cover that black up with the white and not get a sort of a dull bluey white colour. When you're doing any kind of spraying and you've got paints like that, the big consideration is that you've got to think of how is the primer going to be visible? Or is the primer going to be visible with the colour? And if you're spraying, say, yellow or white, then black is not the best idea because those colours are naturally quite transparent. And if you say prime it black and then you're trying to spray, assuming you do rattle cans, you're doing rattle cans over the top, you're going to be putting a lot of paint on there to cover up the black. And especially with rattle cans, it's not that accurate anyway. It's not like you can spray in delicate pre-shade lines around panel lines, and it's not like you can control where you've got more paint and less paint. So I wouldn't really worry too much about the pre-shading if you're using rattle cans. It's not something that you can easily do or really feasibly do, because rattle can, it's like trying to use a hose pipe. You just couldn't do it. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. There are other ways to get similar effects. You can do post shading, which is depending on what is it you're actually trying to paint. That's the other question, I suppose. Because I've shown, there's a video on my channel that shows how to do post shading with a dry brush. It's in my how-to playlist. If you go to my main channel page, there's a how-to playlist. But that's really focused on small models like Warhammer stuff. So for people with no airbrush, how do you do pre-shading? You can do. It's not the best, but it works. Fox, it's in the description box. Is it? Oh, I must take that out. I must remove that. I neglected to remove it clearly. Because I am special. I am well special. Don't use that tip link. Yeah. Sorry, guys. Yeah. So if you're doing rattle cans only, you can't really control it well enough to get an effective pre-shade. Really, the whole point of a pre-shade is, for example, that you would say if you're doing an aircraft, or Millennium Falcon or something or whatever, you'd do a... If I was doing, say, the Millennium Falcon, let's say, and if I'm airbrushing it, I'll use a very light coloured primer, like just off-white, like a light grey or something like that. And then over the panel lines, this is with an airbrush, where there's panel lines, I would use a dark colour, like Tamiya Rubber Black. Let's try that again, says Cynical Steve. Thank you very much, Steve. You didn't need to do that, buddy, but thank you very much. That's a super chat. You spoon. You lovable spoon, aren't you? Thank you very much, buddy. Well, don't worry, that other tenner will still be in the pot, so somebody will benefit from that, don't you worry. Yeah, so if I were doing the Millennium Falcon, there's two ways I could do it, for example. And there's two ways I have done it in the past. If I were using a rattle can, when I did a rattle can one, I primed it black. Hang on, let me think this through. Okay, let's change that. Millennium Falcon. If there's two ways I would be doing it. Let's carry on where I left off. Basically, I will prime it with a light colour, like a very light grey. So that'd be a rattle can. This is just if I had an airbrush. Then I would go over with a dark, like Tamiya Rubber Black or something. Not black, but a dark colour. Or German grey. And I would just airbrush over the panel lines and anywhere that I wanted it to be shaded. Any little recesses where I wanted it to be darker. And they don't need to be neat. And then, when I paint on the base colour, I build it up in slow, misty layers. And I focus towards the centre of panels so that there's more paint in the middle of a panel, so it looks like the base colour. And there's less paint around the edges where the panel lines are, and more of the dark grey shows through. Dad, massive thank you, Dad. I don't know if it's come through on screen yet, but massive thank you to Dad. Dad says, I'm streaming at 6:30 Pimpage. There you go. I'm streaming at 6:30 Pimpage. There you go. Dad's doing a stream at 6:30. So when you finish from me, I'll finish at 6. Dad will then be streaming at 6:30. So go and watch Dad on his channel, Dad. Go and watch that. Make sure you go and watch that. Thank you very much, Dad. I really appreciate that. So yeah, so light primer, then a dark colour for your pre-shade. This is airbrush, remember, and then the base colour over the top, because the Falcon colour is a light colour. It's an off-white. If I just prime the Falcon black and then try to paint that off-white over the top, the black would show through the white colour and it would make it more cold and a darker, because it's supposed to be a creamy off-white colour, but from experience I know if you spray a white colour over black, it's going to come out with a blue tinge to it, and it'll take a lot more paint to cover that black. And if you do it with a rattle can, you can't really focus. If you were painting your base colour like the white colour, you couldn't focus that in the middle of a panel and not round the edges. You've got no control at all. So I wouldn't worry too much about the pre-shading at all with rattle cans. It really is a case of, if it's a light coloured vehicle or whatever you're painting, don't use a really dark coloured primer. Just get a primer on there to be something for the paint to grip to, and then paint it whatever colour you want. If you're painting it like a dark blue or a red or something that's quite opaque colour, it doesn't matter. You can use black if you want. If it's something light coloured though, you might want to do that. If you're doing a miniature like this stuff and it's all brush painting, that's a whole different story. I should have really asked what you're painting. I'll just stop now. You get the idea. Eon's Car says, Demonette on the table and belly later mint lamb burgers and chips. Oh yes. I can't believe George would engineer a world crisis just to stay stream boss, says Cynical Steve. Yes, he would. Anything for him to beat Simon, he would. OT guys, alternative to what Foxy said, I think pin washing with dark German grey, black, hey, blue. Oh, you mean as a... Well, that's for... That would work for panel lines, but if you want to get shading around a panel... what I was saying is, yes, you can use like a dark pin wash to go into the recesses. That's a pin wash. That's fine if you want to get into the little recesses. But if you want shading over a panel, say you've got a square panel and you want it to be dark around the edge and go towards brighter in the middle, that's where, without an airbrush, you've got to get a bit creative. You could do it with pin washes, but you'd have to glaze it and it'd take forever. But yeah, basically with rattle cans, you can't have that level of finesse. I wouldn't get that involved in trying to do pre-shading if you're doing rattle cans. There's just no point. Because you are basically painting with a hose pipe. So I would look at ways to do it afterwards. Like with, like Athel says, you can use pin washes to get into the recesses. You can use various dry brushing techniques to go around panels. and so on and so forth. And so there is a video on my how-to guide, which is a sort of quick and simple how to do dry brushing to get a post-shade effect. I think it's called How to Pre-Shade Without an Airbrush. It's not a perfect technique. It's not the best technique in the world, but it works just about as an alternative to airbrushing. Right, my brain is not working today. I need to pay attention to what I'm doing. Yeah. Right. Very big thanks to Dad, by the way. He sent me this lovely little singular Dad device. So instead of having my whole Dad device with the decal solutions and the brushes sticking out, I can now mix and match and swap and change. So massive thanks to Dad for sending me that. He sent me a lovely package the other day with this and some fudge, and some more pens and a Big Jet TV sticker that you guys can't see. But basically, Big Jet TV stickers are just the best stickers, basically. Get this done. So how is everyone? I hope you're all well in this time of great strife and crisis. And there's a nub on his crotch I didn't notice. Oh darn it, I'll have to sort that out in a minute. Who puts a nub there on his crotch? Ridiculous. Hopefully you're all well and safe. What's been going on at my end? Not a lot for me to report. I'd said this yesterday. If you didn't watch my stream, if you watched my Skyrim stream yesterday, I said all this yesterday. But I had hoped to get more of the Falcon build done this week, just gone. But sadly, again, like it did the week before, a lot of real world stuff got in the way. So I didn't really have a chance to do any of that. So I got nothing done this week at all. And I hate it when real life gets in the way. So hopefully this week now, I'm gluing all this stuff together. I've not even taken the seam lines off yet. I'm not even paying. It's really warm and I'm not paying attention, so I need to just stop. You can tell I'm a bit at 6s and 7s today. Yes, I've managed to get nothing done at all this week of any great consequence. So hopefully this week coming up will be the one where I can get the next Falcon episode underway, get some building going on. I want to get that done. What else has been happening here? Nothing really to report. Lots of people doing DIY in the neighbourhood, which is always fun. Because they're all at home now, so they're all like doing the fences and digging the gardens up. And there's some guy at the end of the road with like a little mini digger, which I'm sure is probably not a best idea in the middle of a pandemonium, but there you go. As long as he keeps himself away from everybody else, I suppose it doesn't really matter. Yeah, lots of digger action going on. And drilling and cutting and all kinds of loud noises. There's somebody outside now drilling some wood together and you can hear it maybe. Let's have a look. Have a look at the chat in a moment. What else has been going on? Other than that, not much to report really. Just getting on with getting on. But obviously things are a bit all over the place at the moment. So right now, with the Falcon and stuff to do, I've got the wrong file out. It's not even the right file. Let me get the right file out. There's the right file. With various things I need to do, I'm kind of hoping that all the paints and glues that I've got are enough for the next, couple of months, because I'm a bit knackered otherwise. Our good friends at eModels, of course, are still taking orders and processing them, but because there's so many, and they're working on skeleton staff, they're massively behind. So, and I wouldn't want to put myself ahead of anybody else's orders. So, yes, I'm hoping that everything I've got will be enough for me to last with. Here's hoping, anyway. There's some really rude farty noises coming from outdoors. There's somebody doing his fence building or shed building or something. I don't know. Big seam line there. I can gently scribe away. You don't know what I'm doing. I am removing seam lines from the middle, or mould lines from the middle of sort of ribbed sections of the undersuit. The scribing tool that you may not have used for this purpose is a great tool to get rid of recessed mould lines that you wouldn't normally be able to get to. Fantastic little device. get to that one. Dad says, Model Making Guru, was the drumming in Kay's theme done by Bev Bevan? That was done by me. When I wrote Kay's theme, it was actually supposed to be a sort of Mike Post style 80s theme tune, but it didn't really done as like a little tribute to the genius of Mike Post, but it never really came out that way. It just came out a bit more, I don't know, didn't quite come out very synthwave, but you get the idea. It was supposed to be that kind of 80s style theme tune. Nim says, another 15 minutes till I can order lunch. Ooh. Get your lunch ordered soon, and then eat it and apply it to your face with all mouths. What am I doing? I'm a bit I don't know why I'm so distracted. Like yesterday I was playing Skyrim on the stream and I was distracted all over the place. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. And same today, I'm kind of not really with it at the moment. I don't know why. All a bit at 6s and 7s. Yeah, I hope you're all good. Hope you're all well and healthy. Hope you're all following the advice to stay indoors. Even though it's a lovely weekend out there. There's no reason to go out. Don't go out. Stay indoors. Wash your damn hands. Wash your damn hands. That's what I say to you. What else has been going on? Not much else to report really. Like I say, it's just been real life stuff that's got in the way this week. So again, but I want to get the Falcon done because, and if you didn't watch yesterday, you won't know this, but I did mention. I'm planning a new series of occasional series, which my patrons will know about. My non-patrons will not, because patrons a few months ago got to see a teaser, a trailer for a new series called Tabletop Trauma Center. And as soon as I can get the Falcon finished, I want to film the first episode of Tabletop Trauma Center, the first series. Season, if you will. Tabletop Trauma Center. So I can't wait to get the Falcon finished so I can crack on with that, because it's what I have to do is a doozy. The thing I've got to do in that first season is a doozy, and it's going to be brilliant. And yeah, so I want to get that done, but I can't do it yet. But yes, there was a teaser that went up towards the end of last year for patrons. Just explaining what the series is going to be and what the first one is going to be of. So, if you're a patron and you haven't seen it, go back to the Patreon page. There's no real good way to find it, unfortunately, because Patreon is like a blog, so it's not really that ideal. But it's there somewhere. Just do a search for, I don't know, updates maybe. There's probably a tag for Tabletop Trauma Center. You'll find it. Athelman Nickel, Foxy, have you washed your car yet and at the same time run the engine for an hour? I haven't washed the car because it's a rat rod, so I don't wash it. It's kind of a rat rod. It's a sort of rat rod. It's a weekend rat rod, as in we rat rodded it in a weekend. But I did run the engine for half an hour and then realised it's completely pointless because you need to run it round and the brakes will be seized by now anyway. And I don't really want to drive it anywhere, so yeah, I'll give it the odd run every now and then for 10 or 15 minutes, half an hour. But yeah, I don't wash it. It doesn't get washed. I do clean the glass and I clean the interior, but the exterior, yeah, I didn't spend a weekend applying paint chips to it to then keep it clean. The other problem is that when we rat rodded it, because of a goof with the clear coat, on one half of the car it's matte. The clear coat is matte. On the other half of the car it's slightly shiny because we screwed it up and we somehow the matting, basically matte. In the real world of real cars, matte clear coats are just gloss clear coats, but with matting agents. Somehow we didn't get the matting agent fully mixed in. So half the car's a little bit shiny and half the car's matte, which is weird. But then it's just about right for me, I suppose. It's typical for me, that. So, yeah. Yeah. Yes, it doesn't get washed. That'd be heresy. More moss on that car than you can shake a stick at. It's all good. Ian's car said something, they retracted it. Candy Graham says, I can't wait for Tabletop Trauma Centre. It's going to be good. Yes, hopefully. I don't know. It might be terrible. I don't know. It's just, it seemed like a really good idea at the time. Hopefully it will be. Hopefully it will be. Like I say, if you're a patron and you haven't seen the trailer, if you weren't a patron at the time, do go and have a look on the Patreon page. It's there somewhere. You'll have to do a search through all the little filters, all the posts, going back to like last November, December. It'll be there somewhere. It's just a little teaser that explains what the series is going to be and shows you what I'll be working on in the first episode or the first project. Need to do that flat. I forgot to get all these nubs when I was actually gluing these two together. Don't think Pete does. He spends too much time falling off the jet ski, says David Butcher, that model. A funny feeling that Pete Mate is a radio control nerd. No, I think he controls himself, unless it's, I don't know, maybe Mrs. Pete Mate's got the controls, so technically he is remote control, because she's the real boss. A little bit of a joke there. I'm so fired. But Pete Mate likes his drones, he likes his boats, and he also likes, bizarrely, because the funny thing is, because me and Ted can log into the eModels YouTube to upload the videos that you guys watch on their channel. Of course, we see what's on their channel. So, of course, when we log in as them, as eModels, we get to see what they've been watching based on the suggestions it puts in the feed. And there's a lot of videos on vintage synthesizers, which makes me happy because I was a musician for a while, and my thing was I was a synthesizer player. My instrument of choice was synthesizers. So, as you can tell by the music I use, that I wrote. So, I quite like this. He's all these like videos about, looking at ARP 2600s and Oberheims and all these different classic old synths, and I'm like, oh, yeah. I think Pete Mate likes. I don't know if he plays, but I think he's definitely got a thing for vintage synths and modern vintage synths. I'll give him points for that. That's not a bad thing to be into. I kind of, in a way, I still miss my keyboards and recording equipment. For those of you who don't know, where this workbench is now, before I got back into the hobby in 2012-13 and started doing this channel, for a long time, because I'd done model making when I was younger, then I stopped in the mid-90s, and then for a long time my thing was music, writing synth music, and that was my gig. And where this desk is now, I had a whole setup with a whole mess of synths on racks and stands. I had all the recording equipment. I had a hard drive 8-track recorder hooked into an old Tascam 388 reel-to-reel 8-track recorder that I just used for the mixer that was built into it. I used to use it for the recording, but then I got the hard drive one in the late 90s, early 2000s. So for a while, where this desk is now was basically all recording equipment, synths and mixers and the effects boxes and rack mount equipment and all kinds of bits and bobs. But basically it faded away. For many years I was into my electronic. I used to listen to Shah and Vangelis and stuff like that, and they were my big influences. They used to influence me massively. But then as I started to listen to other stuff like orchestral movie soundtracks and things like that, and more acoustic type stuff, I started to fade away from that. I got hung up on trying to recreate real instruments on the synths, and it all went downhill from this. Was like early 90s, early 2000s, so it was really hard in those days, and it all went a bit weird, and it faded away. And then when I started getting back into model making, at the time it wasn't a hard decision to make to sell all my equipment and reutilize the space, because I hadn't recorded a tune in like 4 years. But that was about, I hadn't done anything for years. But now I do look back on it every now and then and think, you know what, I wish I still had the synths. Need to clear my throat, one sec. Right, where are we? I shall have a look at the chat in a moment when I've got this bit glued on. Right, get rid of that seam line. Now you may think I'm being a bit over the top with the cleanup on this, dude, and you're absolutely right. But I do get quite fixated on cleanup anyway. But if you're not aware, this is the Warhammer Conquest part work. And basically, it's because of my lovely friend and patron George has made it possible for me to do this part work with his Patreon support. Is basically covering the costs for this part work. So because of that, this was the deal. He'd help put towards it, as it were. And what we do is when it's finished, we're going to split it. He's going to get all the Space Marine stuff, and I'm going to keep all the Death Guard. So I'm doing my best possible work on the Space Marines for him. I'm making sure they're built as well as possible, and when they get painted, I'm making sure they're painted top notch as well. Because it's because of him that I'm doing this. So I know George has been a bit poorly sick lately, so get well soon, George. Hope you're getting better, mate. Take care of yourself, buddy. I know you've not been well recently, so do take care. Right. Quick substitution. Oh. Then we'll have a look at the chat once I've got this leg on. Get your leg on. I'm using the regular thick Tamiya cement there, purely because I want to wedge this in place and have it stick. Remember, the thick cement isn't quite as strong a bond as the thin welding cement. It's a good bond, but it's not quite as strong. But it's got a bit more stick to it because it's a more viscous liquid. So that leg will now stay on for a second, while I put that in there and get them extra thin. Both of them work the same way, by dissolving the polystyrene and making it weld together, but the thick stuff is just, it's not quite as aggressive as the extra thin. But the extra thin is a thin liquid. So if I put that leg on, it will just fall straight off again with just extra thin. Where it's supposed to glue now, I've lost track of where the other joint was. There we are. So that's why you'll sometimes see me do thick and then thin, because I want the thick to anchor it in place, and then the thin can go and do the welding. But there you go. That's that done. I shall have a quick look at chat. Nim says, I'm going to order some barbecue. Oh. Basis says, how's the car? I took mine around the block the other day. Yeah, I don't really want to drive mine out because I am on complete and absolute lockdown in this house. So I don't really want to be hypocritical and go out for a non-essential reason. Technically, it's non-essential because I'm not leaving the house to go and do shopping and stuff. I can't leave the house, so there's no essential reason for me to get. Yeah, the car might not start in 6 months. Okay, well, the brakes might have seized, but then I just call the RAC if I need it when everything's back to normal. But yeah, so I will go out and start it and run it for half an hour every now and then, because I can just go out to the car and come back. But I'm not going to drive it anywhere, because my nightmare is the car breaks down in the middle of nowhere, or I go around the block a few times and it breaks down. I'm outdoors, and what do I do then? Because I'm if you don't know, I'm staying indoors permanently to keep Mama Fox safe. I'm probably not really at risk. I was a smoker for 20 years, so I might be, but my risk to me is minimal. Risk to Mama Fox is massive. I'm not putting Mama Fox at risk, so I'm not driving the car around. If it's gonna die when it does it, we all get back to normal, then I'll have to get the RAC out. I'll just sawn it when it comes to MOTs in September. If we're still locked down by then, I'll just sawn it. Toilet Team Inept says, kissy kissy, love you, George, get well soon. Yes, massive get well soon to George. He's been poorly, so hopefully he's getting back to normal. But what about Mike Oldfield, Fox? He says, Athol McNichol, one of the best albums. One of the best albums I would ever recommend to you. There's a few musical things that I would recommend to you. There's many of them, but if I was to boil it down to a small handful, One of them would be the soundtrack for The Wrath of Khan, but the more recent one that came out about 5 or 6 years ago, that's like the remaster with all the extra tracks. That's one you need to get, the Wrath of Khan soundtrack. One of them would be the 1989 Batman soundtrack, the movie, the Tim Burton. What do we call it? The composer whose name I've forgotten. I've forgotten his name. I'm blanking. But him, yes, that one. 1989 Batman, excellent soundtrack. Not Batman Returns. It wasn't quite as good. One of them will be, if you can find it online, because you can't buy it, well, you can if you can find it somewhere. It will be the soundtrack to Medal of Honor Frontline by Michael Giacchino. Fantastic soundtrack. Great game, but fantastic soundtrack. But Amarok by Mike Oldfield, one of my all-time favourite just musical things. It's incredible. I'm not really that keen on Mike Oldfield stuff generally, because it's a bit twee and fae and fairies and nonsense, and it's a bit. But Amarok, absolute goddamn work of genius. That stuff. Amarok is an absolute work of genius. I do recommend everybody gets it and plays it really, really loud. 30, 31, 32, and 29. 29, 30, 31, 32. Amarok is a fantastic. Oh, I'm doing comments, aren't I? Fantastic album. Let's have a look. Do. David Sanderson, Nitzer Ebb, Bauhaus, Faust, and KMFDM. I don't know what any of that is. Apart from Bauhaus was an art movement. Other than that, I don't know. Lewis, I messaged Fox for the answer, but you know what he's like when he starts on the electric piano accordion things. Lewis, I messaged Fox for the answer. What? What are we talking about? I don't know what you're on about. What have I missed? Remember, if you've got a question for me, put it in big fat capital so I have a chance to see it. Otherwise, it blends in. It's no use. The mini is beyond help. Just send the parts to Steve. He'll use them on a spaceship. Probably tune in next week to Tabletop Trauma Centre where Dr. Fox decides on what's to have for lunch. All the things. D Payne says his battery died. R.I.P. battery, says Dad. Dr. Fox, please hurry. This marine needs the leg transplant stat. Yes, that's all very well, Nurse Tedward, but it needs the seams dealing with first. Fox using his smarts. Wait, what? Where? When did I do that? I didn't do that. D-Rock Payne, I've got a friend up. I'm debating starting a channel. Absolutely. If you're not in the Boom Hut, first of all, there's the link for you if my buttons are working. I think my buttons are working. Yeah, there we go. That's the Model Makers Boom Hut. If you're not in there already, you might be in there already, and I might know who you are. But remember, we don't always know. I'll take my watch off because it's a bit tight. We don't always know who people are by their YouTube names. If you're not in the Boom Hut already, first of all, join up there. Because there's 4,000 people in there who are all awesome and they'll keep you happy and safe. But it's also a good place to share your work and get feedback and find other people's work. But absolutely, if you remember in there, you'll know that we always strongly encourage people doing their own YouTubes because it's great fun. It can be stressful as hell, but it's also great fun. And we'll always support people doing that. So give it a go and pimp your stuff. Athelmanuckle, now that is music and I cannot stand this modern crap. Absolutely, I don't do songs. I can't stand songs. Other than ELO that I grew up with, I have no interest in songs with lyrics and singing. It's drivel. Give me music. David Sanderson bought Tubular Bells on CD. Listened to it once. It went in the bin. Yeah, Tubular Bells. See, Oldfield in his early stuff suffers from a lot of the problems that musicians of that period had, especially Vangelis. There's one or two tracks you know when you go and buy the album they came from, that one track is brilliant, but the rest of it is garbage. For example, Tubular Bells. Yeah. Or if you like a bit of Vangelis, you may know the theme from Cosmos, which was from Heaven and Hell. Beautiful piece of music. Absolutely fantastic piece of music. The entire rest of the album, apart from that and one other track that I forget what it was called. That and one other track, the entire rest of the album was utter garbage. And that's, I love Vangelis, but a lot of his early stuff was, if you just get like the best of album, like if you get the Vangelis album called Themes, which is some of his best works, they're brilliant. But you can guarantee that if you've got one great track, the rest of the album is complete nonsense. So a lot of that stuff, it is hard to listen to. It really is hard. But Amarok, even the second half, which is a bit lackluster, it's still great. So, yeah. Model making trucker. Does Pete make from E-Models make models himself? You don't know. Don't think he's a modeler really. The rest of the guys are. I think Pete's not a big modeler, but then it's his business. He's not doing it because he does models. But the rest of the guys are. Pete has his fingers in many pies, not just model making. Put it that way. Right, so we still didn't find out what I missed that Beyond said, and is Beyond still with us? Beyond, where are you? What was it that I missed? Put your comments in big fat capital letters or a super chat, please. And also, what was it that I missed about Lewis and Dave saying something? I don't know. Danny Elfman, that's it. Powerberg says Danny Elfman, yes. Yes. Yeah, first that 1989 Batman, that soundtrack, fantastic. Batman Returns, the second one, it's not very good. It's like a lot of things where, like Michael Giacchino, Medal of Honor Frontline, incredible. If you get it all together, it's incredible soundtrack, beautiful, lots of themes, lots of leitmotifs. It's fantastic. Then some of his later work for some of the later Medal of Honor franchise, not great. Medal of Honor Airborne, he kind of phoned it in. Kind of phoned that in a bit. Yeah, so. Yeah. Anyway. There used to be a Japanese guy, Tomito something, who did a series of soundtracks. Yes, Tomito, who was called just Tomito. And he did a lot of good... him and Vangelis kind of knew each other and worked together occasionally. But again, he was one of the people that... You probably recognise a couple of his tracks, but a lot of the stuff was just awful. But there was the occasional standout tracks that were really good. It's like anything that old. You go back in those days and some of the stuff is terrible, but there's one or two tracks. Wow, it's like... How did these people get famous? Got to say, the Plastic Magic 10-second cement is really good. Makes Tamiya extra thin look like super fat glue, says More Dracket. Yes, it is. It is actually thinner than extra thin. It is actually a little tiny bit thinner, and when this flashes away, it leaves almost nothing whatsoever. If you slop this all over and it flashes away, you might get a little tiny little sort of patch that you can see, like a little tiny raised patch, a little tiny bit. This stuff, it just evaporates to nothing. The beauty of this is this works on more than just polystyrene. So I've got one of these. I think I've got two of these. I've got one or two. I've got two of these. I tend to save this stuff for when I'm gluing anything that isn't polystyrene. I don't tend to use it on polystyrene kits just because the extra thin is fine for that. But it does come in handy. Best soundtrack is Pacific Rim. No, it's not a soundtrack. Modern films don't have good soundtracks. They have either songs, which are just nonsense, a collection of songs, or they have just wallpaper Hans Zimmer crap. I can't stand Hans Zimmer. Oh God, that kind of just wallpaper in the background that's all just the same. Just no. Give me leitmotif. Give me proper John Williams style. It doesn't even have to be orchestral, but as long as it's got themes and leitmotif and it's got structure and it's competent. But no, this background wallpaper nonsense. No. There's a very loud farty helicopter going overhead. I don't think it's the Chinook. It doesn't sound like the police helicopter though. Thy creator is in. Hey Fox, hey Dad. Hey the creator. Pirates of the Caribbean. No, that was Franz Zimmer again, I think. Hans Zimmer. He also did the Batman films, the stupid nonsense ones from the last few years. Background wallpaper music, terrible. What about Top Gun? No, nonsense. 1980s terrible nonsense. I'm quite specific in my musical taste. I like a big, massive orchestra, basically. I don't mind not orchestra stuff, but for movies, I grew up with John Williams, so not literally with him, obviously that'd be weird. But I grew up listening to the soundtracks of John Williams, so yeah, it's not quite the same, really. What am I doing now, anyway? 29, 30, 31, 32. 29, 30, 31, and 32. 29, 30. It's not always orchestras, though. I mean, 29, 30. I've forgotten already. 29, 30, 31, 32. For example, a stunning soundtrack that wouldn't... it's weird to say, because I like a soundtrack that works in the context of the film or the media you're watching, but I also like a soundtrack that you can then go and buy in some form and listen to off your own bat. And that is always a plus point for me. For example, not always necessary though. For example, like I say, Medal of Honor Frontline. I played the game to oblivion, like when I was younger, when it came out. I loved the game, and the soundtrack was fantastic. So I'd quite happily have the soundtrack playing while I played the game. But I can easily, and I do, I've got a playlist on my computer that I have going when I'm doing work. I have music playing, and one of them is the Medal of Honor Frontline. So it's easily listenable. But then there's things like, for example, the soundtrack from The Last of Us is incredible. It's very intimate. It's very simple. It's not. You couldn't listen to it. You couldn't play it on your MP3 player. That makes it sound like old, but you couldn't listen to it as a piece of music in the background when you're doing something. Next door but one's dog is barking again. I do apologise. Swig of coffee. Unfortunately, the one thing we've learned during this lockdown is that next door but one's dog is still not dead yet. We still have to put up with it. Yeah, the soundtrack from The Last of Us, in the context of the game, is incredible. It's an amazing piece of work, and it's beautiful, haunting. But you couldn't listen to it just in the background while you're doing something. It doesn't work. But it still gets points. Skyrim, the soundtrack to Skyrim, for a long time, because I bought the soundtrack. I bought the full CD soundtrack, unfortunately signed by whatever his name is. I've forgotten his name already. What's his name? Who's the composer? Did sound Skyrim? I've forgotten his name. It got a bit rapey, and it all went a bit pear-shaped a couple of years ago. But anyway. And I tried listening to it every now and then, and I really couldn't get into it as a piece of music to listen to. But in the game, it's incredible. You know a soundtrack on a game is good when you voluntarily play the game with the music not turned off. There's so many games that you get, and the first thing you do when you start playing the game is just turn the music off. Don't need that. Skyrim, no, you need that. And it's actually, over the years though, I've tried it a few times and never got into it, but recently I tried it again and just took out all the tracks I didn't like the combat tracks and stuff, and just got the chilled out exploration music, and it's really got into my head. Blade Runner soundtrack, says bassist. That's one that is a legendary track by Vangelis, who I love. And in the context of the movie, when you're watching the movie, it is a fantastic soundtrack. But it's one of those ones that I do have, and it's like you can sort of listen to it, but it's not a pleasant listening experience. It doesn't really work as a piece of listening music outside the film. It doesn't quite work. It sort of does, but it doesn't. And it depends which version you're listening to as well. There were the old bootleg ones before the soundtrack even existed, before it was released, which kind of mixed bits from the films. But then there's the official Vangelis one that came out where he added some extra music, and it's like, okay, it kind of fits with the original soundtrack, but you can't add new music. Talk nonsense. Do you like our owl? Is that official? Of course it is. Must be expensive. Very. I'm Rachel. Deckard. You get this dialogue on the soundtrack. It seems you think our work is not a benefit to the public. Replicants are either a benefit or a hazard. They're a benefit, not my problem. That's a good film. That's one of my favourite all-time films, and it is a fantastic soundtrack in the context of the film. Outside of the film, it's a very hard listen. Let's have a look. D-Rock Payne, Blade Runner, another awful cult classic. How can you not like Blade Runner? Blade Runner is just a legendary, in filmmaking terms, it's a work of amazing skill. In terms of the actual, the way it was shot and the way it was filmed and the lighting and the composition, incredible. See, I'm a big proponent though. The difference is because I'm an old man, so I'm a big proponent of an older style of filmmaking, which is what I call basically the sort of the non-story film. You go back to like the 70s. There was a lot of films where, and there's a lot of the classic films where when you sit down and look at it logically, not a lot actually happens. They although they were of their time, the big blockbusters, when you sit down and look at them, break them down, there's not a lot going on. For example, All the President's Men. Not actually a lot happens. It's some people walk around and talk and stuff, and if you break it down to real brass tacks, there's not a lot going on, but it's the acting and the lighting and the composition and the way it's filmed and the way it's set up. It's brilliant. It makes it suspenseful. You've got things like Capricorn 1. Again, not actually much happens. They get launched, they don't go to space, they're on the cave, they're in a cave, there's a thing with a cat on the garage roof and the snake eats a snake. Not a lot happens. Silent running, again, pretty much nothing happens for an hour and a half, but it's an incredible film. Because it's not so much, action and stuff, it's more just the storytelling. It's intimate, small stories, but on a big scale. And I kind of love that style. Whereas the modern make things happen every 5 seconds and there's got to be a billion things on screen at once and it's got to have loads of action and everything else. I can't be doing with that. I really can't be doing with that. It bores me senseless. I've just sat through the first season of Tales from the Loop. And that to me, I loved it because it's a rollback to that old storytelling style of, All the President's Men and Capricorn 1. It's that kind of thing where there's an interesting premise, and it's a slight sci-fi premise and stuff, but in each of the episodes, not a lot of things happen. Not one episode can be like a simple thing, like just one thing happening, and people talk about it, but nothing much happens, but it's very captivating, and I love that. So, yeah, Blade Runner was in the tail end of that kind of period where there was, if you break it down, there's not a lot going on, but there is. So it wasn't quite your kind of Capricorn 1 level of lack of things happening. But it wasn't quite your modern day blockbuster action where you have to have something happening on screen every 5 seconds, otherwise the audience will go bored and just go away because people have no attention span nowadays. And that's where, and it's kind of, I call it the Transformers effect, where, so much going on that I'm like, I don't even know what. And that's one of the things that I held against the Star Wars prequels. Was like, you look at the space battle scenes in, the original A New Hope, and it's like 3 X-Wings, 2 Y-Wings, and a couple of TIE fighters, and that's it. And then we're attacking the Death Star, woo, and it's action, it's exciting. Then you go to, like, the prequel films, and you suddenly get a space battle with a billion ships in the thing, and there's the Republic ships, and there's the Separatist, and it's all a million things going on, and there's things whizzing backwards and forwards and everything, and it's like, it's too much. It's not interesting because there's too much happening. Just because you can put a billion ships on the screen at the same time doesn't mean that you should. And I hate that. It's just, and that thing seems to be now that you have to have a million things happening at once. The slow, quiet story is becoming niche because the people that make the companies that publish the movies have no confidence in the intelligence of their audiences. They think that if you don't make it a big blockbuster every single time, it's going to not make money because audiences won't like it. But what they don't realise is there's a time and a place for the big blockbuster action-packed nonsense thing. Of course there's a place for that. But it seems every film seems to have that nowadays, and it's like you can't do that. There's a place for the slow, contemplative stuff. But if you haven't watched it yet, and if you do have Amazon Prime, I really do recommend Tales from the Loop. It's really, really good. Only 6 episodes, I think. 8 episodes. And it's precisely the kind of thing that I love to bits. That kind of slow, intimate, contemplative storytelling. It really just sucks me in. Come on, have a look at the chat in a minute, because no doubt I've stirred a whole right of battle of words in there. But then again, I suppose if somebody's grown up with this more modern style and not grown up with the sort of the vintage, the more classic storytelling, contemplative style, then they are going to find some of the older films a bit, well, not boring, but not what they're looking for. In the same way that when I was growing up, I liked those kind of slow, contemplative films, but I had no liking at all of classic Hollywood 1940s, 50s movies because they were just terrible. It was badly acted and nonsense. Oh my dear, it's really this is classic cinema. But then I'd be there watching, and it's the same thing. No difference at all. People's tastes change, and what's popular with different people is changes. I never tell someone they're wrong because they don't like something that I like. At least I try not to anyway. I just try and reinforce why I like something. Right, that's his head done. I forgot to ask, by the way, I hope the sound and audio and video and stuff is good today. I hope I'm not getting my head in shot all the time. Right, let's have a quick look at chat. Try barking back at it at 3 AM, says somebody. I missed it. Where are we? What about Joe Hisaishi? His stuff is good. Never heard of him. Most Tarantino films have good soundtracks. No, they're just songs. So that's no interest to me at all. Or at least the ones I've seen. I don't know if they're more modern ones. Mass Effect Andromeda by John Pisano and EA Games soundtrack has some really good tracks. That was actually pretty good. Again, in context of the game, I did get the soundtrack and I did listen to it a few times, but it didn't grab me. But in context of the game, that was good. Will Taylor, welcome Will, says, what about the soundtrack for the Halo games? Marty O'Donnell is a personal hero of mine. I adored the original Halo soundtrack. I didn't really care for the Halo 2 soundtrack so much with the electric guitar nonsense. I absolutely adore the Destiny soundtrack, because Marty did the Destiny soundtrack and then the other guys did the Destiny 2 soundtrack. The Destiny 2 soundtrack is garbage. Outside of the game, it's garbage. You can't listen to it. It's just more modern wallpaper, long drawn out horns, sweep pad type strings. Marty O'Donnell's original Destiny soundtrack, genius. I can listen to that. There's a couple of tracks I took out because they were tedious, but most of those I've got it on a playlist. It's a great soundtrack. Lord of the Rings had a perfectly good soundtrack that was completely ruined by the addition of Annie Lennox in the last film. I haven't watched those movies because I can't stand Tolkien and kind of fantasy nonsense, so I haven't watched them. So I'll comment on that. Did you like Clint Mansell? X-Pop Will Eat Itself, says Tim Kelly. Did the soundtrack for Requiem of a Dream, Noah, and many others. I don't know anything about him or those films, so I don't know what they are, I'm afraid. Fox, the best orchestral music without a doubt is Holst the Planets. See, yeah, I'd say I see where you're coming from. I'm more of a Baroque when it comes to classical stuff. I'm more Baroque than the Romantic period. Yeah, I'll give you that one. In terms of the classical romanticists, pretty damn good. It's pretty damn good. And of course, it did lead to the music they use on the Sky at Night, which is always in my head. I'm more of a Baroque when it comes to classical stuff. I'm more lean towards Bach and Scarlatti and stuff. Oh, World of Warcraft's Wrath of the Lich King. I don't know what that is. I know what it is, I just don't know what it is. I thought his name was Jeremy Soule. Yes, Jeremy Soule did the soundtrack for Skyrim and for a load of the Bethesda stuff. Unfortunately, it's not cool to... because there's just all kinds of, yeah, you just go and look it up. It got a bit, yeah. Let's just say you might not see him working on a Bethesda game again or on a game soundtrack again. No. So yeah, you might. So I've got a signed, limited edition signed copy of the Skyrim soundtrack that's got his name up. He signed it, and it's like, yeah, I can't really shout about that anymore, can I? Because you're not really cool anymore. There you go. There were accusations. Let's just say there were accusations made against him in late 2018, I think. And that's where the story ended, apparently, because we've not heard anything since then. But He was some accusations were made against him. Let's leave it at that. That were not cool. Drilling out the barrel. Let's see if I can do it without screwing it up or gouging my finger. Ooh, almost in the middle, but not quite. But close enough, I can clean it up with a bit of a knife action. Have a quick look at chat again in a second when I've drilled out my barrel. Drill out the barrel. Drill out a barrel of fun. By the way, quick update for you folks and ladies and lasses. If you didn't know, Colin and Dave normally do their buddy build stream in the mornings, or in the lunchtime of a Saturday before I do my stream. Their lunchtime buddy build. But they didn't do one today because Colin's not very well today. So, as well as sending get well soon vibes to George, our good friend George, lots of get well soon vibes to Colin as well. Because I watched Colin's stream before I get ready to do this one. So, because him and Dave are good, I like watching their show. They have a good crack. So, but he put a thing up saying, yeah, not very well today, so no stream. So get better soon, buddy. You and George. We'll hope to see you back next weekend because I need my Saturday morning. Well, I was going to say Saturday morning. It's not like it's cartoons. I need my Saturday morning Colin and Dave fix because pretty much Dave is the only person that can put Colin in his place, and I like it when he does. But then again, it's the same around. Colin's the only person that can put Dave in his place. It's all good fun. Right, so there you go. Barrel drilled out and widened a little bit. I know I didn't really show that, but let me do a diagram for you. Handy tip. Have I got your paper? Because somebody asked me this recently, and I've shown it a few times, but it never really makes sense when I show it because it's really small. Here we go. It's time to do some diagrams. Diagram time. Time to find a Sharpie. Where's my Sharpie? There we go. Right, so here we have a barrel. Let's say we've got a barrel here. There's the barrel. You've got your little bit vent there, and there's the rest of the gun. So you've got your barrel here, and it's not drilled out. There's your aiming thing. You get the idea. Anyway, you drill out the barrel. Drill out the barrel. And you get a hole here, because it's not easy. And you're like that, and you're like, oh, flange. Because it's not quite in the middle, and you're like, oh. All you do, drill out this bit. Drill out that bit a little way in. Get your blade. And you just... very gently, get your blade and you scrape round. Basically what you want to do, you want to fake it so that you get this space here. Because what you need to do is you get your pin vise and you drill it out. And ideally you're in the middle. Now you can just mark the centre of the hole with a pin and everything else, but you might still get it wrong. It's hard to see. And if you do ever do it, you've not got this bit out. You want to remove all this area here. So what you do is you get your knife and you very carefully just carve that out. You just go carve, carve, carve. I'll do it for real. You go carve, carve, carve. If this was not paper and was actually plastic, you carve it away, and eventually what you'd end up with is the paper's too thick. Anyway, you carve it away, and eventually you'd end up with the hole. Now it wouldn't look brilliant because if you look at the gun from the side, the barrel would have like. You'd have a really rough kind of hole like that inside where you've carved the hole out, but it doesn't really matter because you're going to put a dark shade in there anyway. And if you get any rough edges, if it's a bit rough and ready because you scraped it around with your knife, it doesn't matter because what you saw me do then was run a little tiny bit of the extra thin around the inside of the barrel. It gets rid of any filamenty bits and just softens it all down. So now you've got this perfect barrel with a hole in the middle that's as wide as you want it to be. It looks in the middle more as it's going to be. And it's all nice and neat and tidy. So there you go. So don't worry too much about drilling your barrel out if you can't get it quite in the middle. I more often than not, 8 times out of 10, I'll get a barrel not in the middle. It's really easy just to go scoop it out and then soften it with the glue, and it just makes everything look nice and smooth. What's chat doing? Soundtrack for the ancient computer game Grim Fandango is quite good. Ooh, yeah. Oh. What was he called? Glottis. Glottis was the big dude that had the car, wasn't it? I remember spending a long time trying to get Glottis, figure out how to get the car fixed for Glottis. Modern film tracks have to be Pirates of the Caribbean original film. No, again, it's a bit modern. It's a bit wallpapery. It's not quite got the sparkle of. It's all right. It's all right. Let's have a look. jumped a little bit. There we go. Worth digging up is Rondo Veneziano, Venice in Peril, great music. Oh, no. Oh, no. See, to me, that's as 1980s as Black Forest Gatto and Steak Diane and Blue Nun Wine. It's just like, oh, no. That's like listening to War of the Worlds, Jeff Thingy's War. It's like, no, I can't. No. Iru says, all these moments lost like tears in the rain. That is some amazing acting that he does. D-Rock says that Blade Runner is awful. I don't know. David Sanderson agrees. Thinks it's awful. Wow. Halo soundtrack 1 to 3 NGL. I feel like the only Halo fan, says Will Taylor. No. I bought an Xbox in 2001 to play Halo. And I played Halo for like 6 or 7 years non-stop. Every game that I got that wasn't Halo I hated because it wasn't Halo. I used to go into my friend's house and play Halo and do LAN parties. I used to hang out on halo.bungie.org, the Halo community site back in the day. Oh, hang on, I've got a sniffing nose. I recorded Halo fan music. I like the Halo soundtrack so much that I did. Oh, God, sniffing nose. I did a piece of fan music, which I can't release because obvious reasons, but it's out there on the internet. I've got sniffles again. It's out there on the internet. I will type it in chat for you in a second. I've got a runny nose all of a sudden. I'll type it in chat. If you Google it, it'll be out there somewhere. And I posted this piece of music up, put a link to it up way back in the day. And Marty O'Donnell came into the chat and said, did you get into my brain over the weekend? He thought it was really good. And I was like, okay, Marty O'Donnell just told me my Halo fan music was really good. It was called, I'll put it in chat for you now. You can see the keyboard of happiness here. If you do a search for Costly Exfiltration, Sam Says Goodbye. That's what it was called. Do a Google search for that in quotes. It was called that because I wrote it and it reminded me of a section in the Fall of Reach book where one of the Spartans, Sam, sacrifices himself to let the others get away. Because I read the books. Massive Halo fan back in the day. Yeah, so do a search for that. You might find it'll be somewhere as an MP3. If not, maybe I'll put it up in the Boom Hut later on. So if you're not in the Boom Hut, there's a link for the Boom Hut for you. If you're not in the Boom Hut, go and check it out. I might put it in there later on. Because if I can upload it and put a link to it in the Boom Hut to download it. I'm not selling it, so hey, I just can't put it on YouTube. Athol says, so how many modelers have music going on in the background while you're revamping a model? I think most of us will do. I always used to have music playing, always, whether I was doing a model or drawing. Lately, though, in the last couple of years, I've started more listening to podcasts. So I listen to like the Giant Bomb podcast or the Skeptic's Guide to the Universe, things like that. I'm just getting this little nub removed. I hate this little nub you get in the bottom of the jetpack, the backpack that you can't quite get to. Yeah, I was a massive Halo fan. Halo Combat Evolved to me was the greatest game ever made. And then I have to say, as the years went by, Halo 2 I was less impressed with. Halo 3 I was less impressed with. And after that it kind of faded away then. I moved on to other things. But for those few years, Halo was my jam. And I was all about the lore and the story and hanging out on halo.bungie.org, which is still going, HBO. Still going. I used to hang out on... there was an alternative underground sort of Bungie fan site called... Oh, God, what was it called? I can't remember what it's called. It was some real obscure little... You had to be allowed in to go to this forum, this group. I can't remember what it was called. It began with S. I hung out on there and I got to know some of the guys. I got to know... okay, this is my little claim to fame. But if you know your Halo and Bungie lore, you'll know about the Meg. you'll know what the Meg is. An Easter egg in the original Halo that was put in the game by James Griesmeyer, who was one of the developers, the designers, for his girlfriend. Subnova was the name of that group. Subnova it was called. It was like a little underground Bungie fan group. But it was a bit dark and gothic and you know, gothy, and it was underground. Anyway, so yes, she was. He did it for his girlfriend, Meg, who was also known by the name of Pala on Subnova and other places. And I actually knew her in passing. I knew her. I did some artwork for her. So that Easter egg, that legendary Easter egg in Halo, I knew the woman who it was done for. Yes, because I got to know her a little bit, and she loved Glocks. She was into Glocks. She's American, obviously. She liked guns. So I designed a character for her called Pala, because that was her online nickname. Who was this character who had it was back in the days, early 2000s, so I had 3D Studio Max, so I drew a cartoon character for her, but I 3D rendered Glocks and Glock holsters, hard holsters, to add to this character to make it more realistic, and gave it like Union Jack boots because she's American, but she was a real Britophile. It was nice. She was a lovely girl. Subnova, God, I remember that. It's going well back into the day, that is. Well back into the dark mists of time now. I think HBO is still going, halo.bungie.org. It's probably still there. I don't know if it's still Lewis Wu, his nickname, not his real name, who runs it. Lewis was a good lad. Used to have a great time on HBO, go back in the day. It was in the early days of the interwebs, so online groups and forums, because this was before Facebook and before Reddit and before all that stuff, so online bulletin boards and groups like HBO, that was the place to be if you're in any kind of fandom. Boy howdy, was I ever in fandom. For Bungie, oh god, yeah. Made many friends over the years on that site. Lost touch with all of them now, sadly. I went off Halo and faded away, and other bits of real life took over, and you can't go back. Can't go back now. But if I can find that piece of music, I will put it in the boom later on. So like I say, I can't stick it on YouTube and monetize it because obviously it's copyright, and it does use some samples from Marty's soundtrack, so I can't legally do that. But I can upload it to YouTube and keep it unlisted and private, but link to it so it's not monetized, and do it that way. I suppose put it on Facebook and so you can listen to it, or put it on my Google Drive and make it downloadable. I don't know, something like that. If there's any interest in people having access to that, let me know. I don't know. Phone booth is a gripping film, yet it's all shot in a phone booth, says David Sanderson. I remember watching that, and it was pretty good. I watched it when it came out, and long since forgotten about it. I have Silent Running. It's proper brilliant, says Chronoman. Silent Running is an excellent film. It is a legendary film. It is a perfect exercise in how someone with proper filmmaking talent can make a film based on nothing and make it gripping. In the same way as Spielberg's first proper outing, The Duel, which was basically the guy being chased by a weird phantom truck. Again, nothing much really in terms of storyline. Guy cuts up a truck, the truck wants to get his own back. That's it, and it's an hour and a half of that. But a good, talented filmmaker, producer, knows how to take nothing and spin it into something. That's what you don't get nowadays. Nowadays, it's a billion things happening at the same time. Nowadays, if it's not a Michael Bay type movie with lots of action and stuff going on, yeah, I don't know. Let's have a look. I can appreciate awful movies, says D-Rock. Oh, there is some benefit to watching bad movies, but there are some bad movies you should never watch. I do recommend at least once in your life, if you haven't watched it, that you do watch Battlefield Earth. But I do say once, and I seriously mean once. You don't want to watch it a second time. Yeah, I have watched. I did after I decided one day. I thought, you know what, I need to watch it. It can't be as bad, but I need to find out why, and yeah. You do need to watch it at least once. I mean, apart from the fact it's all Scientology bullshit. Ooh, I did a swear word, I do apologise. Sorry, YouTube, don't demonetise me. Apart from it's all Scientology rubbish. It's just a terrible, terrible film. It really is an awful film. It's like, oh dear Lord. So yeah, if you've not watched it, you do have to watch it at least once. I did spend hard-earned cash renting it on Amazon once just to watch it. Yeah, it was worth it. I will say it was worth it. I'm glad I did it. I know I can never get that 2.5 hours back, whatever it was, but I'm glad I did it because at least I've experienced it. I can honestly say I have experienced Battlefield Earth. There are really bad films that I've never even finished. I did watch it all the way through. I have a vague memory of some film with Walter Koenig in it. You know, plays Chekhov in Star Trek. And it was set on... I only got about half an hour in before I died of just not wanting to watch it. But all I know is there was something on the moon, and there was a robot or something, and there was a princess on the moon. And the robot that was supposed to be the terrifying robot antagonist that didn't actually move. It just stood in a doorway like this. And didn't actually move in any way, shape or form. And somehow it was the big bad antagonist. And Walter Koenig was in it. And it was terrible. And I didn't get more than maybe 45 minutes into that. I can't remember what it was called. I can't remember anything else about it. That I wouldn't recommend you watch that. Butcher that model. Cynical Steve says... Hang on, it's a reply to Cynical Steve, but I don't know what Cynical Steve said. Oh yeah, Silent Running is the only film that makes me cry. That poor little bot on his own tending the garden at the end chokes me up. Exactly. Huey, Dewey and Louie. And then Dave says that's the same reason he chokes up playing Fallout 4 for the same reason. Then poor bots at the market garden for all them years. Yeah. That's... Oh. If you want to have emotional roller coasters, again, Tales from the Loop. I'm not going to say anything, but there's a robot in that will... You may think there's somebody chopping onions. Let's just say that. And it's incredible that they've managed to get this robot that is both true to the original artwork and also so adorable and yet lovable, and also... I'm not going to say anymore. You have to watch Tales from the Loop. What am I doing? Walter Koenig's movie Moontrap. It could well be that. I blanked it from us. I can't tell you what it was actually called, but it was literally... All I remember, they go into a stone building on the moon because, of course, there's a plinth in the middle with a woman, a reasonably naked woman with a sheet over her in the moon, who's minus 5 billion degrees and there's no atmosphere, but she's just lying there. And there's a robot that's a silhouette in the door, and it goes, "I'm going to kill everybody," and then it doesn't move at all, but they animate some laser beams coming off, and it's like, wow, there's no budget at all. It was terrible. It was terrible. Don't watch that. Athol says, timer just rang, so goodbye all. Stay safe. Take care, Athol. Stay safe, buddy. Just posted in the Boom Hut, the site where you can hear your fan music for Halo Reach Fox. Oh, it's raining. I can hear massive raindrops outside. Cool. I didn't know it was on a site, but thank you, Mordraka. I'll check it out later. Battlefield Earth ouch, says D-Rock. You have to watch it. I remember fat, dreaded John Travolta. Yeah, it's dreaded in more ways than one. I know what you meant when you said it, but it's more ways than one. Whereas a terrible film, if it's a terrible, terrible film of no consequence, I'll just give up watching it halfway through and forget it. I'll be like, this is rubbish. If it's a terrible film that kind of legendarily terrible, like Battlefield Earth, I'll stick with it because I'm like, I cannot believe I need to see this through to the end, to completion, just because it's a milestone terrible film. There's terrible forgotten films like The Moontrap or whatever that nobody had ever heard of and nobody would ever care about. But then there's Battlefield Earth that's become such a meme in of itself that I have to watch it just to know. And yeah, I'm glad that I watched it. It sounds really weird. I'm glad that I watched it. I'll never watch it again, but I'm glad I watched it. Watership Down, says David Sanderson. Ooh, yeah, I've not watched that since I was a kid. Terrible animation, though. One amazing film is Metropolis, says James Lorimore. Yeah, I've never actually watched. This is the weird thing. I've never actually. I must do that at some point. I've never actually sat down and watched Metropolis. I must do it at some point. And, you know, it's only like one of the most legendary, iconic, groundbreaking films of all time. But I need to get around and watch at some point. Right, time for Tamia Fat. Tamia Fat, Tamia Fat, Tamia Fat. Now, just so you know, Dad, I'm going to have to open it outside your thing because this seems a bit not quite strong enough and this lid's quite tight. So if I start doing this, I'm going to squeeze and crack my dad device. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to be very careful with it. Let's get these bits glued on, then we'll dive back and chat. Yeah, never actually. I must watch Metropolis at some point. Metropolis, Metropolis, Metropolis. Alright, how are we attaching this arm now? How is this arm be attached? Oh, tenuously. Oh, I've got to figure out where it goes. Oh, I see. I've got to figure out the best place to put it at our Games Workshop. Thanks for that. Very helpful of you. Thank you. There. It sounds like some big fat raindrops outside. Big fat raindrops. Yeah. Little kid from next door, but one running around in the garden. Loving the big fat raindrops. Which, let's be honest, when you're a little kid, you love big fat raindrops on a warm day. I'll look at chat in a second. Yes, that Sam says goodbye. The costly exfiltration. The idea was that they're on. I think if I remember right from the Fall of Reach book, they're on Covenant Dreadnought, Covenant Cruiser. They want to blow it up. They all get in there, but Sam gets injured by a hunter, I think. Oh no, there's a hunter stands on a grunt. That's one funny bit, and then a jackal, I think, breaches his armor, so he's got a hole. He can't leave the Covenant ship because they're going to go back out to space to the dropship, and he can't leave. So he says, "Go! I've got the bomb. I've got the bomb. I'm going to blow it up. I've got the bomb. Leave me." And go. So they have to go, and they say goodbye as Sam says goodbye. And this piece of music was like, you see, so it's got like a bit of combat at the start, and then the quiet bit in the middle, where it's all like everybody's realizing that Sam's going to have to sacrifice himself. He can't leave. And then I can't remember how it finishes after that. It was 20 years ago. But yeah, Marty thought it was very good. Marty O'Donnell himself told me it was very good. Did you break into my head over the weekend? And I said, my reply was yes, and it smelled vaguely of pizza. I didn't get a reply. This is a regular 32mm base. What is that pose now? He's got some real kind of like pigeon-toed pose going on here with this guy. I'll show you when I've glued him down. Doodle-doo, power burk and squeeze mode. Woohoo, I finally got it to sit at 30 psi. Oh, you're having issues with your compressor modulators, weren't you? Good. Good, good, jolly good. Glad to hear it. Him on the base, we're going to give him a little bit of a wiggle. Wiggle, wiggle. That's not right. There we go. A little bit of a wiggle. How the dickens? Is this guy like in the middle of falling over? Strange pose. I mean, I like the fact it's a nice dynamic pose that's not just normal, but it's a bit strange. Bit of a strange pose this one has. This one has been drinking and is falling over. Okay, so fat glue to get him on there. Remember, Tamir, regular fat glue to get him on so he doesn't fall off. Extra thin, he'd be falling off straight away. And then I can come in with the extra thin to make sure that he's glued in properly. There we go. Because this will now do the proper welding a bit more than the fat glue. Now you have to leave it a few seconds. If you go too quickly, the extra thin will dissolve away the regular glue and then it'll just fall off. Yeah, that does happen. There we go. That is lovely. So that's on there. Glue on his heady bonds. Which way should we have him looking? It's that way. Okay, I have apparently no choice. You have no choice about this. His head must look that way. Okay. I know when I'm stuck in a corner and I can't get out. Yeah, Medal of Honor Frontline, there's a fantastic soundtrack. You need to go and get that and listen to it. It was released on a limited run of CDs many years ago. I managed to snag a copy. You still occasionally find them on eBay. But it was a limited run. Or you find places to download it. Slightly dubiously illegally, but that's an awesome soundtrack. Manor House Rally. Oh. The thing about that game is, though, that game did not age well. I love when it was back in the days when, you know, it was Halo 1. And I'd get a game and I was so in love with Halo that I'd play it and I'd be like, this isn't Halo, I don't like it. And there's a few games that I don't even remember the names of now that I thought were going to be great, and then I was like, nah, it's not Halo. And for some reason, Medal of Honor Frontline stuck with me as a game I loved, purely because you were shooting Nazis, and that's always a good thing. I think if it hadn't been World War II, I probably wouldn't have liked it. But the weird thing is, going back and playing it now, the mechanics of it are terrible. It's like, oh, it's awful. No iron sights. When you do any kind of like left trigger to aim, you're locked in. Oh, it's terrible. But yeah, I loved it regardless. I can still hear that sniper rifle in my head. The sound it made. Sniper rifle, the report of the rifle, and then the echo as it echoes around. Great, that was. Right, let's have a look at chat. I know the best place you can stick that arm, says Paul. Thank you very much. Model making trucker, still not watched Star Wars. People, will somebody have a conversation with Lewis? Best film ever, maybe. Sharktopus, says Spiddy Q8. Really? Now you are just stirring the pot there. That's one of those bad films that's so bad it's not worth watching, rather than so bad it's so good you have to watch it. Yeah, look at the pose of this guy. He's kind of. I'll zoom in a bit. Let me zoom in. Ooh. He's got this kind of, I've had a couple of I've had a couple of sherbets and now I'm a little bit, he's kind of staggering a bit. He's not exactly, he's lurching, let's say. He's a bit of a lurch pose. A bit pigeon-toed. But I like him. Let's zoom back out again. My eyes. Zoom tool. There we go. Where are we? Sad film has to go to City of Angels. Shoe farts had me sit down and watch years ago. I nearly cried in Godless Heathen with No Soul. I've no idea what that film is. Post a picture of my lunch up in the boom hut. Excellent. We like this. Every time you put a picture of your lunch in the boom hut, I gain pounds because I have to go and eat food. Jamie Bone, gotta go now. Food is ready. Now we'll try and catch Dad's stream later. Cool. See you later, buddy. Powerwolf1097 says, my appreciation for the Tamiya Scriber grows by the week. I now recommend it to basically every Warhammer model related chat to an almost fanatical degree, considering starting a cult around it. If you don't remember, if you weren't here like a couple of weeks ago, Powerwolf, I explained how I use my scribing tool, like I said earlier on, to get rid of things like seam lines on the top of plasma weapons, like on that there. That's not a plasma weapon. Neither's that. Never mind. Is that one? Like the ribbed bit on the top of plasma weapons, or in this case, like I did on this guy, the ribbed section in the undersuit. How to get rid of that seam line when you've got a surface that's like that, that kind of surface that's like crenellated or ribbed, and the seam line goes down the middle, and you can't sand in there. So I showed how to use that, and he was like, mind blown. His life has now changed because he was saying, I assume it's he, it could be she. Powerwolf was saying they used to hate doing plasma weapons for exactly the reason of the seam line. That's some really big rainfall outside. It sounds huge. Big fat raindrops. Yeah, Powerwolf was saying that they used to hate doing plasma weapons for exactly that reason. And now, I'm glad we could help. You could probably green stuff some beer in his hand. That would be a good idea. Candygram says, if you haven't watched Speedy Kuwait's airbrush and compressor videos on his channel, I learned a lot. So Power Burke can squeeze them up. Nim says, it's a new place I ordered from so far. The barbecue sauce is a little spicier than I normally like, but it's not bad. Ooh. Powerberg says, this Mustang will not be the learning mark. I'll start that again. This Mustang will be the learning mark that I will have to go with. It won't be as nice as I first wanted to because I balked it. At the end of the day, this is what I've always said. At the end of the day, if you're making a thing, and when you start a model, and we all do this, you start a model and you're like, here's my plan for it. It's going to be the best thing ever. And every model is the same. Whatever model you're working on is the most important model you've ever made. The one before, you've already forgotten about. The one that's next, you haven't thought about that yet. This one is the most important thing. And the hardest thing to do is realise that sometimes you might screw it up. Because at that moment, it's the most important thing in the world that you're building. And if you do mess it up, you're like, oh, I've got no talent, I'm useless, I'm hopeless, I've done it wrong, I don't know what I'm doing. But what you have to remember is, it's a plastic model kit. If you threw it away right now and put it in the bin and got another one, the world would still turn the next day. But you'd have learned something out of it. So it's one of those things that's hard to do, but it's really obvious little hint or tip is, treat every model you're building as if it's the most important one you've ever built, but don't worry if it goes wrong, because if it does, you just either strip it and start again, or if it's complete write-off, throw it away and just think about the next one. Go on to the next one, because even when something goes horribly, horribly wrong, we've all got kits that we've done that have turned out absolute garbage. My original Revol 7C U-boat that I did and thought was the best thing in the world, 2 years later when I did another one as a commission and I'd improved so much, I took the original, snapped it in half and threw it in the bin. It was so bad. I thought it was the best thing ever when I did it. But 2 years later I'm like, wow, that is hot garbage. It was terrible. So yeah, don't worry about it. At the end of the day, unless it's like a 300 quid Millennium Falcon or a 400 quid Titanic or something like that, it's a 20 or 30 quid kit. Yeah, it's 20 or 30 quid and it's a waste, but at the same time, doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You know, the world will still turn. Everybody will still like you. You're not going to suddenly find yourself homeless. And why is this plastic on this screwdriver dissolving? Weird. It's just kind of... sorry, I got distracted there. Yeah, so don't worry about it. Even when something goes horrendously wrong, you'll have learned something because you'll have learned why it went wrong. We've all got kits that fell over, that got thrown away or abandoned. Got sniffly nose. Dad, something about Dad. Where's it gone? Dad has not seen Star Wars, and look what happened to him, Lewis, says David Butcher, that model. Absolutely. Nat Williamson, sorry I'm late. I haven't been really feeling great today, so I went back to bed for a bit. Hi, Nat. Hope you feel a bit better soon. A few of you are not feeling very well. Hopefully it's all just random not feeling well and not, the important not feeling well. So Kevin is in. Cy Reynolds, ahoy. Oh, never fear. Kevin is here. Welcome, Kevin. Our Lord and Saviour, who is not the current stream boss, but who can't be the stream boss anyway because we're not doing stream boss battle until further notice. Haha. Nim says, I'm more of a sweet barbecue person. There was this sauce called Montgomery in barbecue sauce. It was perfect, but I haven't had it in forever. I don't know if it still exists. I hate that when you find the perfect thing. I used to get from my local Aldi, every now and then they'd have this jar of Hunter's chicken sauce, like a cooking sauce, you put it in your food. Nothing spectacular, but it was this particular Hunter's chicken sauce, and it was incredible. And then they just stopped doing it, and I've never found it since. It was only an occasional stock. And then they just stopped having it. And now it's like, I miss that. That was really nice. Cy Reynolds says, I think I've been in bed with chocolate Velociraptor 19. Well, I think it is or was. Have you passed it? Has it gone? Are you better? Hopefully. If you're not well, mate, you need to call the relevant people and make sure it's dealt with. But hopefully it's gone and passed and you're all right. Big hugs. Let's have a look. Dave is posting up a link for something on eBay. I don't know, I assume it's that barbecue sauce. I'm always here, Candy Ground for Mongo, at least in spirit, says Simon. Powerwolf says about using the scribulations tool. What's going on with Fox's camera? Is everyone else seeing that? Why? What is happening with my camera? I mean, I've done work. It keeps flashing intermittently as if it's cutting out. Really? Ooh, I don't know in that case. I have no idea. I can't see what you guys are seeing. It could be YouTube's. It could be something at your end. It could be your brain cutting out. Is everything else fading out at the same time, or is it just the telly screen? Have you been on the alcohol again? Is it maybe been on the gin? Where are we? Catch up. Captain Nemo. Hey Fox, hope you're all well. Did you post out those challenge coins? I haven't got the one I won, says Captain Nemo. Hey Nemo. No, I've got like stickers and... Hello, hang on. I've got a message probably from Dad. Your camera is fine. It's Simon's end. There you go, Si. Dad tells you. Dad's told you now. No, unfortunately I've got an envelope or a bag full of all the sticker and coin winners and stuff from last year, going back to about September, I think, that I never got a chance to post out. And then when it got time to when I could actually get round to spending the money to send them on, because I had loads of... I used to let them pile up and then get to about spending 50, 60 quid on all the postage. And when I finally got to the point where I was like, right, now I can go and post these out, lockdown. So, yeah. So, yeah, they haven't... I've still got them all. They're all in... I can see them. I can't get them out now, but they're under my desk at the back. Your coins are still in there. They're waiting to go. I just need to... I've got my inbox. My email inbox is all the mails from people saying, hey, I won this. I haven't done them. I sent them out like once or twice a year. I used to let them back up, and then there was the pandemonium. So, don't worry, you've not been forgotten. They've not been sent out. But thank you for coming in the stream, though. Boom. Where are we? Yes, Powerwolf says about the scribing tool for getting rid of seam lines, especially on plasma weapons. Any kind of hard-to-reach crevice, honestly, it's good for weapon handles with wrapping on them. Another common one, I am indeed of the masculine persuasion. Excellent. Cynical Steve says, most of my models go wrong, but you'd never notice. Only I know for sure. Here's one trick as well for any kind of creative, right? And this isn't just model making. This can be drawing, writing music, writing. It can be anything. Always keep in mind. This is the very important thing. When you make something creative, be it a drawing or model, whatever, what you think is terrible, most other people will probably think is brilliant. Because what you have to remember is whatever your branch of making or creative branch is, 99.9% of people will have no clue how you did it. And they'll think it's a miracle. And this is something I've learned over the years. And you see it in people all the time. You know, I've done stuff for people, and it really dawned on me after a long time of doing little bits of commission work that sometimes I'd do something and I'd be like, that I've done substandard work, it's terrible. And the person I did it for will be like, this is the most amazing thing forever, it's amazing, wow. And because they don't know what I did. And you have to realize, especially with model making, for example, I spend my time hopefully teaching people how to get complex looking effects using simple looking methods. And a lot of people don't realise that. So what I might say, here's two colours, bit of masking fluid, there you go, done, chipping effect, it looks fantastic, it's dead simple. I think it's really basic because there's more complicated methods out there. But somebody who doesn't even know how to do that will think that's an amazing paint job, and it took hundreds of hours. So don't lose heart when you do a piece, a drawing or a model. You might not think it's the best in the world because you know what you've done and that maybe didn't work out, and you know what's gone on to make that product, to get to that point. You know the processes you've used. But somebody who doesn't know those basic processes, that is dark magic. That is amazing artwork. So don't be disheartened. What you think is terrible, plenty of people will think is amazing because they can't even do that. So always be positive. Yes, you might not be happy with it. You might think, well, I can do better. But use that. If you think you can do better, use that to focus yourself to do better. Use it as a learning experience. But don't ever think, that your work is terrible because you've not got all the skills. It's not the case. I've done projects where I've done a half-assed job, and I'll be honest, I'll say, look, I thought I could do 16 different things with this particular bit here, or I could just do a quick wash. And I've done a quick wash, and people have still thought it's amazing. And I'm like, yeah, but I did the easiest pie version. I didn't do You know, it might be that I could. I've been a time when I thought, well, I could do an oil paint filter, an oil paint streak level, and I could do some complex painting with chipping with chipping fluids, and I can do this, and I can do that, and I can do all these other processes and use pigments and pastels. I'll just give it a wash. And I just gave it a wash, painted on some simple chipping, done. And to me, it's like, that was a half-assed job. But to somebody who doesn't even know those techniques, it was an amazing thing. And you have to keep that in mind. Always be proud of what you've done, because somebody somewhere will think it's the most amazing thing ever. And it's not always your mum. Yeah, so don't lose heart because you think you've done a poor job. A lot of people don't even have the skills that you have that you think are substandard. A lot of people don't even have those, and they'll think you're a genius. So always be proud of your work. Always accept that praise. Be humble, but always know there's always more to learn. I'm learning stuff all the time. Right, where are we up to? Let's have a look. Cy Reynolds, I'm good, dude. Something not me and the missus on our butts. Couldn't do much in terms of move, harsh flu-like symptoms, but we are on the mend. That's the one thing. Just because you suddenly get something now doesn't mean it's the big chocolate velociraptor. It could be something else that just happens to do. If I caught the flu right now, I wouldn't know what it was. I've had the flu twice in my life, proper flu. And I mean, it's like, you know, where you're out unconscious for 3 days. So hopefully it was just something else. But yes, take care, buddy. I'm fine. I'll hug whoever we deem to hate today, says Cy Reynolds. Yeah, you're passing on the germs. Okay, so here's who we hate. No, we're not going to do that. Just staying inside for another 6 days, says Cy Reynolds. Cool. Cheers for the great live stream. Got to go, says Will Taylor. Thanks for coming, Will. Take care, buddy. See you soon. See you next time. Waits for Fox to do a great skullfish. I said at the start, Si, which you missed, I can't do close-up stuff to the microphone anymore because the way Windows works, I've realised in the last few days, the way Windows works, no matter what software you've got running, if your microphone suddenly gets a load of loud input, Windows drops the volume, the input volume, drops it down and leaves it there and doesn't tell you in any way. You have to go through like 18 different menus to get to the thing. So I'm not doing that close to the microphone stuff anymore because it goes and it kills it. And that's why I've been having a lot of issues with audio being too quiet, and I've had to put the volume up and put it down, and every time I do a stream I've got to adjust it. I've figured it out now. There's a little volume input part of Windows that you can't turn off. I just want it to say, I want to set the volume for my input and say 100 and say leave it, don't ever touch it. And Windows like, no, I want to slide it there, I want to fiddle with it. Shut up, you can't turn it off. So yeah, so I don't do that anymore. But I can do skullfish. I can do it from far away, but it's not quite the same. Skullfish is, of course, in. So I shall say again, skullfish. If that worked from a distance. Model making guru. There's a reason we lovingly refer to you as the Bob Ross of models. I really wish I could have a massive afro, but it wouldn't work on me. He doesn't talk about our little worlds enough, and he rarely uses a fan brush. I've got a fan brush. This is my dusting, but I use it as a dusting brush. But I do have a fan brush. It's a bit battered now, but I use it I use it to dust models off before I prime them or spray them or whatever. I do have a brush. The only person you should compare your work to is your last model or figure, and I don't want to know if you wax off his brush. You have to beat the devil out of it. You have to beat the devil out of it. I love it when you're having a soapbox moment. Yeah, I'm always amazed people watch me, says Chris at Gross Models. Again, that's the thing. I'm the same. I sit here and I'm just waffling away for 3 hours talking absolute rubbish and doing bugger all work. Productivity maximum. And we've got right now 65 people watching. I think it was a bit bigger earlier on, but whatever I'm doing, people like it, and I'd have to force myself to accept that people actually like what I'm doing. I don't know why. I'm incredibly grateful. We all know, we all look at ourselves with a critical eye where others don't see it. To quote Robbie Burns, I'm going to get this wrong. Would some gift the gifty gie us to see ourselves as others see us? I think that's Robbie Burns. I think it is. I got it from the cover of a Mad magazine, and I think it was referencing Burns Night. This is going back to the 80s now. So, would some gift the gift he gie us to see ourselves as others see us? Yes. That's because we're all bored. Joke, says David Sanderson. Truth, though, innit? It's a joke, but it's also true. Your streams are always... Eric says to Chris, your streams are always full of anticipation of spilling things and you getting in trouble. There is that. There is that. See, I don't get in trouble with Mrs. Chris. There's not that little thing for you to watch for me. I don't get in trouble with Chris's missus. Chris's missus. With Gemma. Paul says, I was going to be mean, but I won't. Thumb up, Fox. I could not stop myself, Paul, says Dave. Right, so where are we up to? I think I'm up to date with the chat. I've got the sniffly nose as ever, so I need to wipe my nose again. Hang on, give me a second. Well, since I said we've got 65 people watching, we've lost 4. Oh well. Oh, excuse me. Oh, sniffles. I do apologise. You know what happens? The camera goes on, the nose just taps turn. Right, what we're going to do with this guy, we have... I've still got the dribbly nose. What is going on with mine? Why? How does my nose know that the camera's on? Ugh. God damn it. I've often wondered this, you know. Now, I know the way the brain works, you've got the conscious and the unconscious, right? But I've often wondered this. Here we go. Here's another aside that I always do. Considering I am my brain. Okay, this is where you get into the dichotomy of the human mind. I am my brain. My brain is I. Sam, I am my brain. Okay. So, what cruel twist of fate is it that our brains, which is what we are also not us at the same time and work against us? For example, if a brain was clever, I think basically there's us and there's our brains and they hate each other, because how many times have you needed to go to the toilet at just exactly the wrong moment? And you think to yourself, I know that this is the wrong time to need to go to do the pooping, but at the same time, my brain also knows that, but decides that's the time to go and do the poop. It breaks your brain, if you pardon the phrase. It's like your brain knows everything that you know, but still is independent of that. It's really weird. And it's always the way that things happen at the worst possible time, even though you've got control over it, you haven't. It's really annoying. It's like, I don't know, it's really hard. It's like the number of times where you've sat there all day twiddling your thumbs, and the moment you realise, for example, there was a day when I had to go somewhere, and I got up early in the morning, and I was facing a 2-hour drive later in the afternoon. I got up early in the morning, did all the stuff I needed to do during the day, ready for when I got to about 3 o'clock, I had to go for a 2-hour drive. I had all day to go and do the pooping. All day. My brain could have said, right, let's go and do it. It was 5 minutes before I had to leave, and it went, I need to go pooping now. And I'm like, oh, for crying out loud, you've had all day, you've known, you've been in the room with me when we've had this conversation. My brain, the brain's the weird things. Anyway, there you go. So it's like my brain decides, when I'm on camera, I have to do sniffling, which sounds really unprofessional. Yes. Right. Yes, back to ready for first coat of base colour of mahogany on the Mustang. Ooh. Candygram says, help Fox out, click the like icon. Thank you very much, Candygram. Yes, whenever you're watching someone on YouTube, hit the like icon. Remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell and choose all. Like, because that helps the person you're watching video get higher up in the listings on YouTube. When somebody does a search, if somebody does a search for something on YouTube and the videos come up, the more likes it has, it helps that get boosting those ratings. So it helps your favourite creators out if you like their videos. Subscribe, obviously, and hit the notification bell so that whenever they do live content, you get a notification. And when they put new content up, it'll be in your subscriptions section. If you don't know this, on your YouTube account, you'll have a section called subscriptions where you can see all the content from all the channels that you follow. As long as you hit the notification bell and choose all. If you don't choose that, then you might get occasional updates from them. So you might not get everything, so make sure to hit that bell. Doesn't always work, but do it. But thank you for that. We made it. We're there. Toilet talk, says Dad. Welcome to Fox's Warhammer stream. Here we use over the urge to, never mind, I'm going to say that word, and occasionally build models. Oh, muse. Here we muse over the urge to poop and occasionally build models. Power Burke says, like and subscribe. That's really deep. Can the brain study itself? Yeah. It's like, how can your brain not be aware of the things that you are aware of when you are your brain? This is what I mean. That's a finished Space Marine by which normal standards is impressive for 2.25 hours. It's not. I've not put the head up. No, because I've got like. Have we got any extras? Oh, we haven't got any extras. I was going to stick all the little pouches and stuff on him, but he's already pre-pouched. I'll go over there now. If I'm watching Paul stream, do I still have to click like? It's a pity view after all, says Cy Reynolds. Yeah, there's a grey area, that one. Paul says to Simon, just as well you don't have a channel for me to dislike. Yeah, Cy Reynolds, you should start doing videos. You should do some content, dude. I say that even though that your painting skills are far beyond anybody I know. So I'm going to say, I know how I'm going to teach you how to paint. Don't go and watch my friend Cy, because he's much better than me and he'll teach you more. But I don't care. I'm still going to say do it. Pre-pouched, says Skullfish. Pre-pouched for your pleasure. 5:15. Is it worth starting another dude now at 5:15? I don't think it's not really worth starting another dude, is it? Let's not even try. Because if I do another dude now, I'm going to have to finish him off, and I've got other stuff to do this evening, so let's just not even bother. We'll just have a chat. We'll just chat and gossip. There you go. What was I going to say? Don't forget, as always, it's my time that I do this occasionally. I put my phone on airplane mode for obvious reasons. Chris. I occasionally show you I'm going to take my phone out of the case that's got all the credit cards in it, because that's probably a bad idea. Yeah, here's all my bank cards. The Citadel app. If you haven't got the Citadel app, it's absolutely free. Go on the Apple or Android store, whichever you've got. Get the Citadel Paint app. It's free. It's brilliant. I'll zoom in a bit for you. Hang on. It's absolutely free. Hello. Let's go back. Absolutely free. You can, if you're wanting to know what colour to paint something, you can go into a model, a specific model, and you can say, I put it on airplane mode now, so it's not going to show you the pictures. Let me take it off. Oh, god damn it. I'm asking for trouble now. Let me get it loaded first. Hang on. Doing it off screen because I know what's going to happen. I know what's going to happen. Right, there we go. Back in airplane mode just in case. There you go. Nice and shiny. So yeah, you can go in, buy a model. You can say, I'm painting an acolyte. What colours do I need? And it'll give you all. It's not showing them now because I'm in airplane mode again, because somebody will be awkward about it and send me rude text messages. But it'll list all the colours for you and how to blend them. Or you can be thinking, I want to paint something red, but what colours will I need? You can go in and say reds, and it'll give you all the different shades and base colours and highlights and different suggestions for all the different types of red. And the thing is, you don't necessarily have to be using Citadel paints, because you can be using other paint brands. You can be like, I want to paint something like a real blood red. What do I need? And you can look at this and it'll give you the list of paints that you might want to get a certain effect. And you can think, okay, well, I'm not using Citadel paints, but I can get this colour, and I've got a brown. For Vallejo, you might have a specific red, then they've got a brown ink wash, and then some other. And you can get the rough colours, and you can see a good sort of selection of colours. So I'll stop this now, because it's pointless talking about that when I've not got airplane mode. When I've got airplane mode off, and you can't see all the pictures. But that's because I know Chris and Paul. So you have to blame Chris and Paul for that. There you go. It's completely their fault. But yes, if you haven't got it already, even if you don't use Citadel paints, go and get it. If you're stuck for paint colour schemes, it's a great source of information. And if you think, I'm painting something red, what are my highlights and shade colours? It'll just tell you. Even if you're using different paints, you can sort of transpose it to the paints you've got. Has your phone been censored for Boom Hut viewing? What does that mean? What does that mean? Censored for Boom Hut viewing. I don't know what you mean, buddy. Do you mean I'm not going to surf the Boom Hut on the phone because no. There's nothing worse than looking at a screen on a screen. If I was going to show stuff in the Boom Hut, I'd either do it on the stream itself or I'd do it on my iPad, but that's there with the channel. So The urge to text is strong, says Chris. Too late, I turned it on airplane mode. I'll turn it off airplane mode. I think I have now, but now I can vet whatever comes through. He knows us so well, says Dad. Absolutely. So Reynolds says, I'm just not outgoing enough to make a channel. I may film the painting of the Great Unclean One once the Sazabi is finished, which is finally close to being done. However, don't forget, Si, you don't actually have to appear on camera or even talk. You don't have to. Some channels just show the thing being done and have text. You don't have to do that. And if you could just do it. You could just do it with the video of what you're doing and and record a voiceover separately. So you're not having to worry about talking while you're working. You can just film you doing the thing, like Dr. Faust does. He films it all and then he does the voiceover separately later on. So I'm thinking of going that way because it's a hell of a lot easier than filming and talking at the same time. Or you can just do text. Or you could, if you wanted to, use a robot voice. Use an artificial. But then everybody would hate you if you did that. That's a good show of red, says Dad. Of course he does. Candy Man from Among Us says, clunge or kludge? Kludge is a highly used word within the engineering community indicating an inelegant solution to something. Yeah. Kludge means a bodge, which is like a rough fix. Clunge is not something I'm going to explain on this particular stream that's monetized. Let's just leave it like that. It's always Paul's fault, let's be honest, says Cy Reynolds. This is indeed true. How does Chris and Paul get blamed for things while Dad texts you 90% of the time, says Eric Graham? It's the law of the West, son. It's the law of the West. It is, as the Jem'Hadar would say, it is the order of things. Woohoo! Mahogany layer down, mojo restored, says Powerberg. Well done. Awesome. I'd go with the Faust style. Videos with just text and a backing track suck ass, says Cy Reynolds. Yeah, I mean, I said that, but they are kind of garbage. Where it's just somebody like just text. There's a last resort they can do them, but they are kind of not that great. But yeah, the Faust style, film it and voiceover. That way you can take time to work your voiceover out and record it and re-record it and redo it and make it exactly how you want. Because your voice is fine on. You've got a fine voice, so you'll be alright. Cy Reynolds says, clunge is slang for the lady garden areas, for the intimate feminine area. Alberg says, school fish. It's two separate words. I don't quite know why. Re-record, not fade away. Re-record, not. I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. I don't know the next line, so I'll go to the next. Re-record, not fade away. Re-record, not fade. Yeah, Maxell, videotapes, skeleton in a chair. Yeah, exactly. Cynical Steve, not got to set up for streaming, but I'm not sure my sweary let's glue that onto that and see what happens style would make good viewing regardless. This is the thing that I was saying. You don't know what people are going to enjoy. Now, I sit here and I think to myself, well, I want to do this or this, and I might want to plan this, and this isn't quite good enough, and I did this shot, but the lighting's terrible, or the sound is off, or whatever. I can't do this, and I can do that, and I'll obsess over the tiny details, but I don't know what people will enjoy and what people will find popular. And you'd be surprised, just because you're doing something that one of us is going to watch this. You'd be really surprised. The stuff that I would never watch in a million years, but I'd happily film it and do it because I know people will watch it. I've never done it, but I know there's some things that I'm planning in the future maybe that wouldn't be the kind of thing I would watch, but I know other people will. So the trick is, you're doing a YouTube channel, don't worry too much about what people will watch or won't watch. Don't worry too much about what other people do. Don't even think about other people's channels. Just do what you enjoy doing. Do it however you want to do it. The only thing you need to worry about and think about is quality, as in, make sure it's well lit, make sure it's not out of focus, make sure it sounds good. Don't make an obstacle between the viewer and the actual thing they're watching. But in terms of what you're doing on the screen and how you're presenting it, like if you're talking or you're doing text or whatever you're doing, that's your own personal identity. That's where that comes in. There's no point trying to second guess what people are going to enjoy because you don't know. There's video content out there that I'd be like, how the hell has this got a bajillion views? But it does. I mean, pineapple, pineapple, the most viewed video in the history of ever. Really? You see what I mean? It doesn't matter. Don't worry too much about the content. Worry about the quality, but don't worry about the content. The content will find its own viewers. You know, it may well be that you do, you might make stuff that people that watch my stuff don't really like, but that doesn't matter because there'll be people out there that will like your stuff, and they might not like my stuff. So you see what I mean? We don't all necessarily share the same audience, so don't obsess over what to do. Just obsess over how you do it, like how you technically do it. Looks good, sounds good, is pleasant to watch. Fine, that's it. Other than that, just be creative and do whatever you want. Don't worry about streaming. Streaming is one of those things. If you've never done it, streaming is one of those things that you're either going to be good at or you're going to suck absolute space balls. And there's a scale of streaming. There's good or hot garbage, and there's nowhere in between. There's not a little bit good. There's no brilliant. There's just like you're good at it or you're garbage. There's no in between. There's no grey. Because it's live. And you've got to do it there and then. You've got to just be yourself. You can't put on an act when you stream because it's hard work. When I do my videos, it's kind of commonly accepted that when I do, well, most people do their videos. I'm not really being me. I'm presenting a character almost. It's like I'm presenting the presenter version of me, very sanitized, very carefully prepared. It's not actually me, but you see the real me on these live streams where I just waffle on for 3 hours about pencils or something. And I just go on about pooping at bad moments and things. That's the real me. But so I wouldn't worry about streaming. Video, you can pre-recorded video, you can take the time, you can edit it, you can tweak it, you can re-record dialogue, you can scrap dialogue altogether and re-record it, loop over it with a voiceover. You can quaff it and make it exactly how you want it. A live stream, you literally press go and you're at the mercy of 2 hours of filling the space talking to nobody. And it's one of those video content takes practice and skill. Live stream doesn't take any skill at all. You just need to either be good at it or not. And I would spend more time making content than doing live streaming, because for live streaming, you need people that they know what they're getting into. If you just start live streaming and nobody knows who you are, then you want to establish a base, because then it grows from there, word spreads. And the thing is, if you've got good content, but your live streams are absolute garbage, then people will tell you your live streams are absolute garbage, and you can just stop doing them and focus on the pre-recorded content. I'm lucky in that I've done the pre-recorded. I don't think my live streams are very good, but people seem to like them, so I'll keep doing them. If everybody turned around and said your live streams are garbage, I'd stop doing them, because I don't want to do stuff that people aren't enjoying. But I'm lucky that they do. So yeah, just worry about getting the content first. Make stuff that you enjoy. Do it however you want to do it. All you need to worry about is the quality, lighting, video quality, the audio, things like that. That's all you need to worry about. Don't do it on a handheld camera. Don't do it in darkness. Don't do it on your keyboard. I know you've got a workspace now. But don't, worry about that stuff. Don't worry about the content. And live streams, that's for later on. Not everyone can do a live stream, so it's not an absolute necessary part of any channel. It's good because if you can do it, it's easy content. A live stream is a 3-hour live stream is 3.5 hours of work. A 45-minute video is 4 or 5 days of work, or more, depending on what I'm actually doing in the video. It could be a week's worth of filming. So a live stream is a good way to make quick content fast and easily and cheaply and get the views and clicks and other things, if that's what you're focused on. I'm doing this as a community thing, but it's easy content. But it's kind of hard work to keep this going for 2 or 3 hours. It's not easy. Anyway, where are we? Speedy Q8. No, where are we? Candygram from Among Us says, I've got a 75-year-old fountain pen with a lifetime guarantee nib, and it still writes perfectly. I love fountain pens. I love them. I've not had one for years, and I've never had a proper expensive one. When I was a kid at school, all I ever wanted was fountain pens, because I was like, I need a fountain pen. I can't be having a biro nonsense. Fountain pens. If I write with a biro, I write like this, and it's rubbish. If I write with a pencil, I can write reasonably. If I write with a nib, a fountain pen, I can write brilliantly. It just makes me write neatly. I don't know why. Where are we? Guthorn, what am I reading now? Thanks, Cy Reynolds. Today I learned something new about the word clunge. And Cy Reynolds says, no problem. That's what I'm here for, quality learning. Feel the quality. Scotch's lifetime guarantee are the next. I'm going to tell you how it's going to be. With Scotch's lifetime guarantee. Re-record, not fade. I can't do it too, obviously, because it'll be copyright. Re-record, not fade away. And with that voice, that actor whose name I can't remember that did the voice for it. With Scotch's lifetime guarantee, record what you want both night and day. Re-record, not fade away. You try and get your money back now for Scotch. I once did. If you've ever done one of those things, I don't know if ever you've done this, where you go to someone's house and they have like a marketing thing where you get paid a little bit of money and you go and answer questions and stuff, and they give you things to look at. And it's like a marketing survey. You get paid for it. Many, many years ago, and this got me. Many, many years ago, I went to one of these things, and it was some woman in her house. You go around to her house, there's like a group of 10 of you, and they pay you like, I think this was, we'll give you some free beer and we'll give you a tenner or something. And they ask you questions. And this one was about the brand Scotch, 3M. So we're going, yeah, but today we're going to talk about this brand. What do you think of when you think of Scotch? When you think of the brand name Scotch, what do you think? And all these people, these like middle class ladies, are like, oh, I think of videotapes, I think of cassettes. And I was like, masking tape. And they're like, what? Scotch tape, masking tape. What? I'm a model maker. What do you think I'm thinking of? Scotch tape. It's a masking tape. And they were like, oh, because they were focusing on kind of videos and stuff. And I'm like, yeah, I think of sticky tape. I still got the money, but I didn't get asked many questions. It was all like a room full of like middle class women anyway, and the housewifey types in the 1990s. I'm like, oh dear, what am I doing? It was somebody through work who we went with, and it was like, why am I even here apart from the tenner and the 3 cans of beer? Speaking of streams, Mr. Fox, we should do another modcast soonly, says Samuel. Yes, I would love to do one. We need to sort one out. If you missed it, we did a Model Makers Boom Hut. I'm putting the link in the chat. Hang on. Buttons are still working. Model Makers Boom Hut. If you're not a member, go and be a member. The link is in the chat. We did a stream with some of the mods from the Boom Hut, and we'll do another one. We'll probably do it every now and then. It's just a nice little, silly little live stream where we all sit at our benches and talk nonsense for a couple of hours. But it's your moderators and admins from the Boom Hut. Dad's stream will be bad later. He's invited me on it. It's bound to suck with me around, says David Butch, that model. Yes, Dad is doing a live stream at 6:30. Chris is doing a live stream at 8 PM, I think. He might not be doing a Warhamster stream. Just so you know, it might not be a Warhamster. Guthorn is covered in dust. Dust. Anybody? No. Dust. Anybody? No. Sorry, Guthorn, you need a bit of a fuss. There you go. The dust off him. Yes, Chris is doing his stream at 8 o'clock. He might be doing Warhamster or he might be doing something else. But Dad's doing a stream at 6:30, he said, on his channel, which his channel is Dad. If you don't know how to get someone's channel, in chat, here's chat here. Bless you, Mama Fox. Mama Fox is sneezing in the background. Chat, 3 dots. Click on 3 dots. Normally would say go to channel, but these are moderators, so I get a different menu. But yeah, click on the 3 dots in the chat alongside someone's comment, and it'll say go to channel. That's how you find their channel. Go to that channel, like and subscribe, and he'll be on at 6:30. I don't know what he's going to be doing. Probably working on his big orc mech, I guess. Bless you. Mama Fox is exploding basically in the background quietly. Speedy Correct says, I've already ordered a couple of calligraphy fountain pens and got a cheap Jinhao set so I can try a range of inks. My handwriting sucks. I think one of the reasons I used to like fountain pens so much was because when I was a young shaver of a lad and doing my arty-farty drawing stage, I used to do the cartoon art, so it was pen and ink and watercolours. And I favoured, rather than doing, if I was drawing a cartoon character, rather than just drawing, with mapping pens and watercolours, I would favour, instead of a brush, or mapping pens, I would use a proper artist's nib, which is basically a dip it in ink and draw with it, nib of various sizes. And that's how you got very nice crisp curves. You get nice curves with the brush, but with the nib you get nice crisp cross-hatching. So I did a lot of my cartoon drawing was pen and ink and watercolours, but using nibs. So I was kind of attuned to nibs anyway. Now, when I did Chris's Warhamster picture, that little sort of Warhamster thing that he's got on his channel, that was just like Posca paint pens and stuff, a little bit of brushwork, perhaps with some ink. But it's a long time since I drew with a nib. But it was a joy, classic sort of 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s comic book art style using pen and ink. Very classic. Loved it. David Sanderson, going to have to say goodbye. See you all. Thanks for coming, David. Take care, buddy. Stay safe. Wash your damn hands. And we'll see you soon. Powerball can squeeze my first coat of red on the Mustang. Thank Jeebus Dog, I'm taking photographs. Yes, you're going very fast there, buddy. You're giving paint the chance to dry enough between coats. You make sure you give enough time for the paint to fully flash off. Otherwise, you might start getting problems. No hamster tonight. Alex on Team Inept. Okay. So basically, Chris at Gross Models isn't doing a stream tonight at 8 o'clock. However, he is streaming on the Team Inept channel. Playing some Alex, so make sure you've subscribed to the Team Inept channel. Yeah, Orc Stomper, says Dad. Nimcinderin says I have actual feather quill and inkwell, so I think I beat you there. Yeah, that's a bit more traditional than my pen and ink. I remember I had my black quill shaped plastic handle. It was ebony handle that I put my little nibs in and draw with. I used fountain pens right through school. I had a lovely stainless steel Schaefer. Oh, Schaefer pens were the best. Stopped using them after school and don't know why. Chris will be on the best channel, says Paul at Team Inept. If you want to watch Chris's stream later on, make sure to hit the 3 dots alongside that comment and go to channel and bookmark it. Subscribe. Powerberg says, I'm outside. The missus has a reaction to some of the paints. A bit of a breeze helping the dries. Oh, you're painting rattle cans, in which case you should be outside. Or you're airbrushing. You're airbrushing outside? Really? Okay. There we go. No Warhamster late stream. What do we pay our license fee for? Boobs. Television boobs. Yeah. If you're airbrushing and you're getting people are getting irritated by the paint fumes, you need to get a spray booth. If you haven't got a spray booth, or if you've got a spray booth, get a better spray booth. Or don't spray in the same room as everybody else if you can avoid it. Harburg says boobs. Chris, get Fox on so you can make him walk off some cliff. Sadly, Chris is on PC and I'm not on PC. Yes, and I don't have a gaming PC. I don't have a spray booth yet, so house is too small. Ah, there you go then. Yes. Yeah. Eventually, you just need a spray booth and a window, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine. Also, just give her a half-face respirator. She'll end of complaints. Cy Reynolds says Master Race, PC Master Race. Yes, we're not even going there, dude. I'm a console gamer, born and bred. Spent most of my days playing Bebop. No, you know what I mean. I'm going to tell you all about how. Yes, I'm a console gamer. I'm far too lazy to do PC stuff because of all the I want to put a game in and play it. And also, I have to say, I spend all day on the computer that I work on because I'm doing video editing or social media or this. The last thing I want to do when I finished on the computer all day is then just start a game on the same computer. I sit in this chair all day looking at that screen. I need to be able to sit in this chair and turn around and look at a different screen when I'm playing. Yeah, it kind of falls apart at that point. But no, I spend all day on the computer. My computer is purely for work. I have it built so it's tailored for video editing and image processing and stuff like that. I don't really want to spend the money on gaming bits in it because I don't want to use that for the gaming side and risk it falling over and me not having anything to do my work on. So, computers for work, for me, games, that's for the console because I want to put the game in. Are you dying over there, Mama Fox?
Yes, your fault.
If you're going to die, can you die quietly?
No.
Where have you got I get the sniffles when the camera goes on, not you. Where have you got these sniffles from?
Sneezes.
Where have you got the sneezes?
Your fault.
It's my fault, apparently.
Yeah.
See, I get the sniffles when the camera goes on, but then Mama Fox has been exploding quietly in the background there. I don't know. But yes, no, my computer is purely for work. It's my office. My computer desk is my office, and at the end of the day, if I want to play a game, I need to get away from that desk and turn to the side of the room. Go and play on that. But every time I've had tried playing games on PC over the years, it's been put it in, download drivers, fart about, compatibility modes, do this. No, I just want to put the disc in, play the game. That's as much as I want to think about it. Boo-ba-doo-boo-boo. But the beauty of having my own chat on my own stream is that I can ignore any conversations that I don't want to get into, like the whole PC Master Race thing. So I can just scoot over all that chat now and let you guys have the monkey poop fight in the chat, and I'll just sit there and watch from a distance. I've thrown the grenade in, and I'm just going to sit and watch the action happen. Cy Reynolds says he played the Switch pretty non-stop in the bed the last few days. It's a damn good system. Yeah. I was debating whether to suggest Mama Fox got herself a Switch, because she spends all day on the. She's got an Xbox downstairs. She plays like Bejeweled and stuff. She's not going to play any complicated games. Plays Bejeweled, and yeah, that's kind of it. Little games like Match 3 games and stuff. So I was debating whether to suggest she get a Switch and what do you call it, Animal Crossing perhaps, but I don't know. Maybe not. We will get Fox a game stream soon. Sorry, we will get a Fox game stream soon. I do one every Saturday, dude. Speedy Curate says, damn Andy, how small is the house if you can't fit a spray booth in? All the console games are made on the PC, the true Master Game System. Or, well, the Master Game System was the Master Game System. Bless her, Mama Fox. Hello, Mama Fox, everybody's saying. Nat asked a question a couple of weeks ago and got it round her neck. What she wanted to know was, what's the difference between sanding sticks and the Citadel seamline remover? Sanding sticks are for sanding. Seamline removal tool is for getting rid of a seamline. Sanding sticks are just sandpaper on a base or a squishy sponge. It's just sandpaper for sanding surfaces flat and smooth. You can sand seam lines away. But for example, if you look at a base, let's see if we can find a base. The one time I did a Citadel base with a nub on it. God damn it, Citadel! You always disappoint me. Games Workshop, you're just a pain. This one got one. The one time I did a base with a nub on it. Okay, for example, imagine there was a little bit of a nub here, or a bit of imperfection, because often you get these bases, there's a little bit of a nub where it's come off a sprue. You'd get your sanding stick or your sanding sponge or your sandpaper, and you would sand it flat, sand it smooth. You sand that away. A lot of times you'll start with a rough sanding sponge, and then you'll move to a finer one just to get rid of all the marks. And you'll go rough to smooth to get rid of any sanding marks, so you end up with a nice smooth surface where the nub used to be. Also, if you've got a surface that's just a little bit rough, or you don't want a texture to it, maybe it's got you've splodged some glue on it or something like that, you'll sand that away just to get it smooth. Exactly the same as using sandpaper in metalwork or woodwork or anything like that, where you're just sanding away any imperfections in the surface with a rough grit, and then going for a medium grit. And then when you've done with the medium grit, you'll go to an even finer smooth grit, which that isn't, but this one, pretend this is an even finer grit, and you'll sand them away. So it's smoothing away imperfections and making everything nice and flat. You'll also use sanding and filing. Filing is just another way of sanding, but a lot rougher, where you've got say two surfaces that don't quite meet and you want to sand them flat. So it's a way of flattening and smoothing a surface. A seam line removal tool primarily is for where you have a piece of plastic that has been molded. Let's say, for example, this was a piece of plastic, not a metal tool, and it would have a seam line right down the middle where the two parts of the mold were put together, and a little tiny molecule of plastic comes. So you see the very fine seam line right down the middle. Now you could sand it. You could get your sanding sponges and sand that seam line away, but you're sanding that whole area. And you're going to get sanding marks. You have to do the rough, and then you go in with the medium, and then you go in with the smooth to get it all flat. Or the seam line removal tool is just designed for you to go like that, and it scrapes that seam line away while not, it keeps the rest of the surface nice and clean. It doesn't introduce lots of scrapey sanding marks like sanding sticks do. So this is really designed simply for removing any little seam line, any little raised detail that you want to get rid of. You can use it for flattening a surface out. If I had two surfaces and one was a little bit higher than the other, I could use this tool as a flat blade just to sort of reduce this one down to the same height, which you could also do with sanding. But and it will be a lot of a smoother, cleaner finish than using sanding. But its primary function is to get rid of that mold line you'll see down pieces. It's a really useful tool for that. And you can just use a blade for that, your normal craft blade. But this blade is flexible, bends, and when you drag this along, it jumps and skitters and can leave little sort of scratches and scrapes and things like that. This is a rigid, solid won't bend. So when you do scrape this, it'll be a nice clean surface. So if you want to flatten an edge, let's say this was a bit rounded and I wanted to flatten it down, I could do that and it would flatten this surface nicely and be less work than this. So simple is, sanding is really just for smoothing off, flattening down, getting rid of nubs, things like that. This is really just for moving seam lines, but you can use it for leveling surfaces off. You wouldn't sand a nub away with that because you'd be making too much work. You'd gouge the surface. So sanding is for sanding. Seam line removals, it's just a rigid blade for getting rid of any raised detail you don't want, basically. When I was doing the Falcon, planning on doing the Millennium Falcon cockpit, I was planning on getting rid of all the little surface details. I was going to use this to scrape them all away and get a nice flat surface. But in the end I decided against that, but I would have used that. I haven't forgotten I'm zoomed in, I just hadn't zoomed out. There we go, see? Right. Seam line remover is just a scraping tool like a thick, blunt blade. That's a very good way of saying what I've just spent 10 minutes waffling on about. It's a scraping tool. It's just a very rigid one that won't knacker the surface up. Sanding is a way to reshape and smooth, and there you go. Why is it making Fox capital all of a sudden? Hey, I don't understand what that means. Mama Fox will like Animal Crossing. My 3 girls have a Switch and been playing it non-stop. It might be a bit too complicated for her, perhaps. Plus, she'll probably have trouble reading half the words on the screen. If Mama Fox did get a Switch, she'd probably mostly use it on the big telly anyway. She's got a 3DS that she uses when she goes to the loo. You know, like I'll sit and read the iPad. Mama Fox plays on a 3DS, so she might just use it for that. You're off centre. Hang on. Hang on. Where's my zoom tool? There we go. There's my little centre mark. Just because my iPad's there, you see, I'm at a funny angle. I like funny angles. Dutch angle is my middle name. Dad says seam line removal tool, best tool on the bench. It is, absolutely. If you want to get rid of a raised detail, but you want to keep it flat and smooth and not have to do a lot of sanding, this is a great tool. If you've got 2 surfaces that are like slightly misaligned like that, this is the best tool to flatten them down, but keep them flat. Just keeps them flat and you don't have a lot of gouging and scraping left. So Reynolds, I don't know if I'm using it wrong, but I find it to be a pile of crap that gouges my surface way more than a blade. Yeah, you're using it wrong, clearly. I just find if I use it, I've got to use it really gently and light. I don't dig it in. I use it really lightly, and it's great. You're just a heavy-handed brute. Sciences, yep, maybe. There's that, but you can't get into nooks and crannies properly or corners. It's poop. Well, no, if you do it, watch. I do use both. Like when I was doing that bolter, I was using this as well because I do use this for small areas like the back of bolters and stuff. I do use it where I have to, and this is great for legs and things like that. But I hate using this too much because it is wibbly wobbly and flexible, and it can skitter and scrape and scratch. So yeah, I try and avoid it. But yeah, I use both. The one thing I have learned ever since doing Gunpla is using files is a really good way of getting rid of details and getting smooth surfaces. For some reason, I don't know whether it's because of GW's plastic, and especially on Gunpla, using a file sometimes can give you a much easier surface to clean up. Whereas if you sand with a rough sanding stick, you've then got going with a medium and a light, and you'll always get little scratchy marks. For some reason, with a metal file, sometimes you don't get as many scratchy marks. I don't know why. Could be because he's really old and not very sharp and rough anymore. He's like 30 years old now, but I don't know. I don't know. Paralberg and Squeeze Man, I'm a happy man now, modeler. I thought I was ready to smash it with the hammer. Oh, you mean your car? Cool. Do you use the curve or both? Educate me, dude. I use mostly this edge, and you do it at 45 degrees. So if your plastic is here, if that's your plastic part, I use it at 45 degrees, thusly. Ideally, it's at 45 degrees to get just the sharp edge. You can use the flat. If let's say this bit here, there's 2 little bits, I want to get them level, I would scrape that like that. About 45 degrees, but that way. To flatten this level down to that level, it'd be nice and smooth. It's no use on like curved surfaces and stuff. That's more challenging. But for example, here where you've got this angle, you've got this chamfered edge. If you use a sanding sponge on that, you're gonna get it's But at least with this thing, you can have it at the 45 degrees and flat with the surface and drag it along, and you'll keep that same chamfered angle. The trick I've found is you don't put pressure on. You use almost no pressure at all, and that way you're just shimming stuff off the surface very gently and lightly, and you can work it down. In fact, you can go heavy with it. Sometimes you'll need to, but I find it's a good tool if I want to keep a specific angle like that chamfered edge there or whatever. It's almost like a potato peeler in a way. Billy Q8 says, amateurs, I use an angle grinder. Yeah, chisel and a hammer. Powerberg and Squeeze Mite, I also know what to do with that goddamn HG Wing Zero kit. What, put it in the bin? Melt it down and make it into a big ball of plastic? Okay, on that one, Andy, that kit is hot garbage. So you are not allowed to feel bad about anything you do with that kit, because that kit is just a box full of issues. So whatever you do with that kit will be great. Don't feel bad if that kit goes a bit awry, because that will be the kit's fault. 100% that will be the kit's fault. I use the curve of it sometimes if I'm doing like a... When I was doing the Eagle Transporter and all the tubes and the pipe work, I was using the curve sometimes to get round corners and stuff, and on the curve like that, where I needed to get around a curve. But I don't often use that bit. It's mostly the back. It feels harder to me. It's different whichever it is, says Sai. I don't know. Some people, I don't know. You're just probably inept. Maybe you're just completely incompetent when it comes to this tool. It's clearly your fault. Clearly a problem with you and not the tool. Joking. Yes, I think files on Bandai Plastic are awesome, much better than a blade or a seam tool. I think it's because Bandai Plastic is harder than Citadel. You know, the best plastic to use a metal file on a Bandai kit is white. The white plastic is the... Even for like removing nubs with your modelling blade, the white is the best. If the kit, like the full armor Unicorn Gundam was brilliant because all the armor was white, and I'm like, oh god, yes, thank you, because you don't get stress marks, you don't get little white stress marks, and it's a joy. It's like carving butter. But yeah, ooh, black and blue. What's the best Gundam model in your opinion? Says Ian Thompson. I haven't made that many, but of all of the ones I have made, I would say my favouriteest so far, my favourite Gumpler overall would be the HG, what do you call it? Space Nazi. What's it called? I've forgotten. Hang on. The Gyara Zulu. That's it. The HD Gyara Zulu. Purely because it looks like a Space Nazi. That one's been the most fun. Simple build, but it looks really good. I do have the Master Grade Gyara Doga that was donated to me. I need to make that at some point. The best... I don't know what the best... I wouldn't say that was the best one, though, because that's only an HG, obviously. But that was the most fun I had, I think. The worst that I've ever made was the Master Grade Destiny Full Blast. Awful, horrible. No. Oh, it had the worst hips in the world. If you like a Gumpler with wobbly legs that don't stay where you put them, and also the colours are horrible. I didn't like it. It's not right. I had to make two of them. One I had to make for someone without painting it, which was tolerable, and one I had to do as a commission build. And it's not a nice kit. That Destiny. It's not. Did not enjoy it. I don't know why. It just did not like it. My favourite mobile suit would be the Strike. I like the Strikes. But yeah, I think my favourite Gumpler that I've built, although it's weird to say it, would be the Gyara Zulu, because it's great fun. It looks like a Space Nazi. Any of the Verkar kits are amazing. Realistically, any of the newer kits are engineering marvels. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the Cesario that I built was an absolute incredible thing to build. It was a massive job, and I won't do another one because it's too much. I never finished building the full armor Master Grade Unicorn because I got weapon burnout. I built the mobile suit. I was doing it as a half paint job, like not painted but weathered, and I just got weapon fatigue and gave up on that one. Heavy Arms is a great older kit. Heavy Arms would be my My heavy arms was the first gunpla I ever made, and that does have a soft spot. My favourite master grade would be the heavy arms, but my favourite overall of all of them would be that Gyaradoga, just because it's silly fun. It's got a Panzerfaust. Yeah, you know why. Right, what we're going to do, what time is it? 56. Right, I think we're going to call it there. I need to go for a wee now anyway and go make the dinner. So I think we're going to call it there. Call it a show. Thank you very much for watching. I got one dude done. Woohoo! That's good for me, that one dude. A lot of work went into that. George would be proud of that. Yes. But yes, thank you very much. I will be back, of course, not tomorrow. Don't forget, of course, we're not doing an e-model show tomorrow. It's Bank Holiday Monday here in the UK. And me, Ted, Colin and Chris are taking a well-deserved day off tomorrow. Plus, Colin's not very well at the minute anyway, so we're taking a well-deserved day off tomorrow. E-models themselves will be closed regardless anyway. But don't forget, e-models are still taking orders. So if you need model making supplies in the UK or the EU, get your orders in. Do remember, of course, they do have a backlog of up to 5,000 orders, so you won't be getting your order quickly. It could take a little while, but do be patient. We're in the middle of a global pandemonium. Don't expect a next day delivery. That's not going to happen. Yeah, don't be a spoon. Give them a chance to process your order. But yes, so I'm not doing a show tomorrow. I will, of course, be back next weekend with Skyrim Saturday and Warhammer Sunday. I'm going to try, fingers crossed, if the stars align, try and get some of the Falcon filming done this week. I said I tried last week, but real world stuff just got in the way and I didn't get any time, which is a pain in the bum. Whoa. So yes, I'll try and do some Falcon stuff this week. And that'll go up on Patreon first as an early access, and then a week later on e-models on my channel. So stay tuned, and I will see if I can get some more live stream stuff during the week. I'll just carry on working on these during the week or something like that. We'll see how it goes. Don't forget, as always, if you'd like to support this channel, there's multiple ways you can. You can become a Patreon at patreon.com/modelmakingguru. If you want to help support me and keep the lights on, this is what I do for a living. This is my income, my only source of income. So do feel free to become a patron. If you want to, you can just like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. That helps me out massively anyway. And don't forget, of course, check out the description below this video for all the usual links for my Amazon stores, for e-models, for Goblin Gaming. There are ways you can support me indirectly. Don't use the tip jar. I'll take that out. That doesn't work at the minute. So don't use the tip jar. That money goes into a jar. It disappears. But mostly like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. Don't forget, of course, 6:30, Dad will be doing his stream in about half an hour on his channel, Dad. So go and watch that. He's working on his big, massive Orc Stomper. And Chris will be doing his live stream, not on his channel, but on the Team Inept channel. Chris, make sure to post a link in the Boom Hut so people know where to go. And there you go. Anyway, take care of yourselves. Thank you very much for watching. Massive thanks to all of you. Make sure you all stay safe. Stay indoors. Stay at home if you can. Stay at home. Wash your damn hands. There you go. Don't go out and about. You don't need to. There's nothing so important that you need to go out and stand around outside for a while. Just stay indoors. Stay at home. Unless you have to go to work. In case, be careful. Take care of yourselves. Go make something awesome. Go be awesome. You already are. I don't know why I say that. Go be awesome. And until next time, I shall say, adios, amoebas.